Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning and happy Friday, happy Black History Month, and all of the same to the families that you go home to. I'm going to now call to order the Southern University Board of Supervisors, Academic Affairs Committee. Before that time, we're going to have an invocation. And good morning and happy Friday, happy Black History Month, and all of the same to the families that you go home to. We're going to now call to order
I have no idea.
I'm going to meet them.
You want to change it? You should.
We're good? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right, sorry about that. That was interesting. Okay, we're gonna have a very, very interesting young man that's gonna do our invocation. I am so pleased that he was able to fit this in his schedule with the many responsibilities he enjoys, but he always finds the time for a word of the Lord. I'm asked that our distinguished vice chair bring this gentleman up.
Bishop Johnson, could you please come to the microphone and bless us this morning?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've made, and we rejoice and we are glad in it. As we gathered here on these hallowed grounds, Lord, we ask the blessing over Southern University, its various campus administration, its board of supervisors, faculty, students, its campuses, Lord, that serve our communities and educate our very best. Lord, we ask you, even in this day and time of tragedy around the world, in Turkey and in Syria, Lord, that your compassion would be there, and that the tributaries that go out from this university would be an asset in its recovery. Lord, thank you for wisdom, creativity, insight, and favor. We ask all of these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Bishop Johnson, you all, is a founder of and pastor of Living Faith Baptist Church, and he's a native of Baton Rouge and a very good friend of mine who gives me a hard time. Bishop Johnson, if you could come forward, we'd like to take a picture with you, please.
Right.
Just want to.
All right, y'all know that he's wearing, huh?
Friend of mine who gives me a hard time.
That's right. He spends his time, his money, this young man, literally every year, not just baseball, football, he invites everyone at Southern University to come visit his church, and I encourage you to do so. It was the experience that you will never forget. And let's give him a round of applause. And pray hard to these gentlemen on the end here. I can. Thank you.
I'd like to bring to the microphone Jude Foster of Southern University Laboratory School. Jude, are you in the building? Jude is probably the smallest individual at Southern Lab, but has a very, very big heart. Jude is an 11th grade honors student at Southern University Laboratory School with a 3.02 GPA, where he has been at the school for the past 8 years. Very conscientious student who is part of the Student Government Association and the Beta Club. Currently is on the football team, track team. He is also a student ambassador who attends Westgate Baptist Church and is the daughter of John Foster and Terrellyn Blunt. Jude currently has 8 scholarships offers and plans on majoring in sports administration. But he told me by the end of this football season, he'll probably have 20 scholarships. He's that good, y'all. Keep your eyes on him. Jude Foster.
Chairman Lawson, President Shields, members of the board, and distinguished guests, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jude, could you and your mom come forward? Your father's here. I wasn't sure if you made it. Yeah, I saw you.
Speaking like him is the reason I learned how to play the drums.
So guys, we again want to celebrate Black History Month. And Myron, Chairman Lawson called me the other day, said, I think we should do something exciting and new at the board meeting, especially in honor of this month and our students. And so I gave a call to Robin Merrick, who always comes through at the last minute for me. And she called Instructor Lawrence Abear, who said, I can put something together for you guys. So we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to celebrate Black History Month with the Black National Anthem. And I'd like some of our students to come forward to put this together. Keena Paulette, Serena Smith, Faith Tate, Cornelius Cherry, Jefferson Blackman, Nickra Sam, and Joshua Stays. And they say they can blow, y'all.
All right.
Could everybody please rise?
Let every voice sing our name. Let our reach song. Has come. Song. All about the hope that the present have brought. Facing all begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Did you guys come back, please?
Beautiful. No, I told Reverend Johnson, Bishop Johnson last week, we had a very, very good, long conversation about bringing us back to where we started from. Reverend Bishop Johnson, this is what I was talking about. Sam, my dear friend, Board Member Gilliam. I mean, the old choir singing, it doesn't do anything but motivate us to be who we are. And thank you again for that invitation. All right. We'll now go into item number 4, swearing in of the new board member. Ms. Giselle Dudley. I think she has a distinguished gentleman that will swear her in. And if you will, come forward. Who's swearing in? I'm distinguished, but I'm not that gentleman. You want your brother? Nobody brought the Bible? You got the Bible verse? Let me get a.
I, state your full name,
I, Zazelle Dudley,
do hereby solemnly affirm or swear
do hereby solemnly affirm or swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and the constitutional laws of this state,
and the Constitution and laws of this state,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties
all the duties
incumbent on me
incumbent on me
as member
as member
of the Board of Supervisors
of the Board of Supervisors
of Southern University,
of Southern University,
according to the best
according to the best
of my ability
of my ability
and understanding,
and understanding,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Board Member Dudley. We afford you the opportunity to say something if you care to.
Good morning. I just want to say thank you to this organization. I appreciate the confidence that has been given to me to even sit here amongst this such an esteemed board of supervisors. I will do my best to represent everything and work with the team and bring any of the talents that I have to work as a team for the furtherance of the Southern University system. I thank all of you and look forward to working with everyone. Thank you.
All right, congratulations again. Okay, I'm gonna ask at this time that we go through our Academic Affairs Committee and ask that our chair, Dr. Leon Tarver, take charge of that committee. Dr. Tarver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir. Attorney Jody Amity, Mrs. Maple Gaines, Mrs. Ann Smith, Dr. Orlando Smith, Orlando Williams, Mr. Myron K. Lawson, Dr. Leon Tarver II,
Here.
Mr. Samuel Gilliam. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. We're item 6 on the agenda, special presentations. Yes.
There was a presentation that was inadvertently omitted that was requested to be placed on the agenda, recognizing Roger Kadar for his induction into the National College Baseball Hall of Fame. I'd like
Move
to,
to add that to the agenda.
I would please.
All right. Can you give us
Make
the
it
language
item,
for
make
that?
it item C.
Okay, and let's see. Yeah. Do you want to chair it?
Pardon?
How do you want to chair that presentation? And who's going to do it?
I'll do the.
You do it,
presentation.
okay. Mr. Rushing is offering a motion to amend the agenda to add item 6C, presentation affecting Mr. Kadar, our former baseball director, coach, and good friend. All of those in favor, let it know, sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So have it. So we begin with item 6A, the presentation on status of e-gaming lab and the mixed reality virtual innovation gaming and esports Institute, the Southern University Law Center. Mr. Chancellor.
Dr. Carver and members of the committee. I have Mr. Christopher Turner, who's going to do a presentation with respect to the mixed reality virtual innovation gaming esports in our lab, e-gaming lab, which we will debut next month. Mr. Turner.
Thank you to the board. Boston and also partnership for having me this morning.
Use a mic.
So the Mixed Reality Virtual Innovation and Gaming and Esports Institute is under the direct leadership of Associate Vice Chancellor Dickinson and under Chancellor Pierre. Just some quick facts. I know I've talked to the board before about esports, but esports is the biggest form of entertainment in the world today. It's bigger than any stick and ball sport, in traditional sports, and also any other type of entertainment, whether it be movie, streaming, whatever, but it's bigger than those combined. And so that was the basis for doing this room on campus. We could just slide to move. Hold on a second. Oh, so it's a PDF. All right. So now okay, all right, got it. Thanks. Yep, got it. Sorry about that. So on March 10th, 2023 at 9 a.m., we're actually doing a ribbon cutting. I would like to invite the whole board, chancellors, board chairs, and any guests who would like to come out. It's going to be in the Union. That's where the room is located. It's gaming, giveaways, remarks, and more. Key sponsors for the event is HyperX, which is a peripheral provider. I'm going to talk about that later on. GM, Esports Supply, and Best Buy. Capabilities. I know everybody's trying to figure out what the capabilities of the room is going to be, so we can go over that right now. High quality game PCs, high speed internet, audio and visual equipment, streaming, shoutcast and networking, comfortable seating, professional development, recruitment tools, field trips, community and campus events. This room is going to be real pivotal to the point of retention and recruitment for the university, for the law center, and for the community abroad. This is a bird's eye view of the room. So if we start to the left side, we have 2 bays of PC stations. On that wall towards the south of the image is south seating. Going back up to the spectator chairs, we have a main stage that features 6 high-speed PCs with audio and visual to the front of the stage as well. That stage is going to be for competition, for people to come into the space and actually witness their kids, professional teams, whoever we decide to host in the space, and actually view them at a spectator standpoint. We have a long table going north and south in the room that also features 16 PCs. To the right of that, some more soft seating in that corner. Top right corner is a council station, and also a window for our production room. So we're going to be able to do productions in this room, whether we're hosting a summit, meetings, networking. So the room is not just going to be designed for gaming and esports on its own, but it's actually going to host, it's going to be a multi-use purpose area. All right, this is another angle of the room, and I know it probably doesn't look familiar, but it's actually the old pool room that used to be in the Union. Chancellors wrote, signed a lot of invoices to get this done, and I thank them for it. But yeah, so this view features the stage that I talked about before. It kind of shows the spectator seating and the bays. I'll go on to the next slide. This is a head-up view. If you're sitting on the soft seat couch with your back towards the windows of the room, looking at the main stage. And this is another view coming in from the entry point of the food court in the Union. Partnerships. This is another thing that couldn't have been done without Associate Vice Chancellor Dickinson and also Chancellor Pierre. We've done many calls with many partners, And I'm glad that we have the partners that we have and blessed as well. First one up is GM. GM has become a partner of the SWAC. I got a call and an email saying that GM wanted to support all the SWAC schools in their esports efforts. It just so happens that Chancellor Pierre had already started and so we have a $30,000 sponsorship from GM just for that signage outside the hall. It's in increments of $10,000 for the next 3 years. And we're talking about doing more with GM. So stay tuned for updates from GM being within that space and doing things for our landmass. Another partner that kind of stepped up first was Esports Supply. They have an A to Z approach for esports spaces. I think we're the first HBCU that they've got as a client. They also sponsor $25,000 worth of sponsorship in project management, computer gaming hardware, network, furniture design, and even the 3D renderings that you saw before was included within that sponsorship. Another partner is Best Buy. So the Best Buy Foundation also gave us $12,000 in donations. I'm sorry. And we were able to purchase equipment in the room, such as Oculus headsets for VR, controllers, and all the accessories that we didn't have in the room. And to the left of this slide is another activation that they did earlier last year, where they did a recruitment day and had scholarship dollars, and they showed our students how to build resumes and such. And so Best Buy has been a great partner, and I have more in the slide about them to come. HyperX. HyperX is a peripheral provider, so headsets, keyboards, mice, everything that we need to have in the room as far as PCs. They stepped in and gave us $9,948.71 of product, and that's real important. And HyperX is a HP company, so we're really grateful for what they did and came in and stepped up and did for us as well. Future work. So just looking at from a student population and reach standpoint, SULC has 910 students. The undergraduate has 8,317. Southern Lab has 430. And EBR, some might ask why EBR. We have a partnership with SULC and EBR. So we want to reach those kids as well. And that goes back to the retention and recruitment piece that I mentioned earlier. So 40,283. So that's a total population of 49,940. So we want to impact 10% of that population in the next year. And so we're going to do so through activating this room. So the first thing that's on our chart, on our calendar, besides the ribbon cutting, is a esports summit March 16th and 17th. We're inviting the community out. Registration should be up soon. You can go to SULC/esports to look at more information. But we have Ryan Morrison, which is one of the top esports lawyers in the country. We have Doc Haskell. He's the director at Boise State. We have people like Keith Price. He's the director of esports at Kentucky. So we have an esteemed list of guests that are coming in to fly in to give their knowledge to this space and to really showcase what we've been able to accomplish on the campus. We're going to have Discovery Live Days. As you know, CDW is a partner of Southern University and Southern University Law. And so they're going to come in and help us do Discovery Days. It's probably an hour to 2 hour field trips to local school students and teach them about esports, and not just the competition side, but the management, marketing, and production and competition and technology side of it. And give them a detailed look at what the industry can do. And to be honest, it's the biggest ecosystem that I've saw in my life that touches all facets of every degree that we have on campus. And lastly, we plan on doing some esports camps and also hosting esports leagues for local communities, for not only local communities, but the Southern University esports team that participates in SWAC competition, and whoever else that we can host, whether it be invitationals, whether it be tournaments, and PD trainings and whatnot. Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. So you probably saying, well, how did this happen? Happened because of something you did. You may not have understood it or knew about it, but you approved in April of 2021 a mixed reality, virtual innovation, gaming, and esports institute. And why? Well, the idea actually came to me from Microsoft because intellectual property, licensing related to music, entrepreneurship, all those things tied into esports. And there's a lack of diversity with respect to the business side of esports. When you look at esports, it's totally dominated by Asian and Caucasian individuals. And there's a great need. We had a conversation this summer with Activision, and Activision is about to be bought by Microsoft. So they're interested. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry that students of color need to get into from the standpoint of engineering, computer science, law, business. And it's also a way to attract students to think about not only law, because we have so much technology impacting law, but also think about this Baton Rouge landmass. And if we can get kids from the East Baton Rouge school system to come to this landmass because they actually have esports teams and locations in the school system, we have a natural partnership. And so from the standpoint of what we're doing with the Law Center, we're recruiting long range. We're recruiting K through 12 because one of the biggest problems in the legal profession is that kids aren't interested in becoming lawyers. And the reason they aren't interested in becoming lawyers is because lawyers don't reach out and show them what the possibilities are. So this is just one of those ideas. And we got a lot of, you saw, investment from folks who thought about it and love it. And we put some skin in the game because you as the board empowered us to do so. So, you know, we look at this as a win-win for everybody on the landmass, including the system. And now we're in conversation with Best Buy about creating teen tech centers. And we're going to talk to some people at T-Mobile and Apple and everybody else and make them come, because they all talk about the lack of diversity. They're all looking for a way to, quote, have a racial justice initiative. Why not use what they have, the power of what they have, to empower students of color who are underserved and don't even understand? All they do is play the games. They're not on the money side of the games. So we want to change that narrative. So I want to thank the board for allowing us to do this, because it couldn't have happened without the board.
Mr. Chancellor, before we go further, I want to ask, are there any questions from members of the board?
And I think you may have said it, Chancellor Pierre and Chris, thank you for the presentation, but this is I was looking at some stats. You're talking about an industry, 4.75 billion. There are students now getting these NIL deals, paying full college tuition. So I think it's something that I'm proud of my board for recognizing and saying, hey, let's stand up and do this. It's very innovative for our institution. So Chris, proud of you. I know what you're doing at Southern Lab, trying to get those kids together. I do want a jersey whenever they become available. But John, yeah, this is great work. So just thank you for what you guys are doing and bringing us to the next level, because I don't think many of us knew how impactful. I actually did not know how impactful this was, but it's huge.
Mr. President, you care to make a comment?
Well, I would just say this is another example of the entrepreneurial and innovative spirit that emanates from the Law Center, and we're grateful for it. We'll be talking a little bit about a visit we just had to Apple that was in collaboration with other members of the committee, but most importantly, East Baton Rouge School District. And I can see great potential of bringing young people to this campus and getting them excited about going to school when they see the possibility here.
Thank you. Mr. Fondell?
I just want to thank the effort that's being put into it. One of the things in particular was going from K to 12. I think that's important. As many of you know, our grandkids and kids, they play on these games on the phones, but what the chancellor said was correct. We're not on the other side of it as far as we're just the consumers of it. So this is a gateway for us, and I do appreciate the effort that's being put into it. It's something new, and I'm glad we're in the game now. So thank you for the effort that's being put out.
Anyone else? Not, Mr. Chancellor Attorney, thank you very much for your presentation.
Board Member Foster.
Who?
Board Member
I'm so,
Foster.
oh, hi, I didn't see. Yes, of course, Ms. Foster. Yes, we are. If I sit up and see your face. Please go right on.
Chancellor, this initiative is obviously dear to my heart. Professor Raheem Smith definitely spent a lot of time talking about the O'Bannon case and of course, NIL. So this is amazing. I don't know if you were aware, just recently, the case that went to trial, Emerge versus Rothschild, intellectual property rights can be applied to virtual world. So with NFTs. So pretty excited to see what you do with this since we're in the forefront. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Smith.
I just want to know, is there a certain time frame in which board members can come in and enjoy these different amenities and maybe get a controller or something? I'm not asking for me. I just want to make sure that the board is aware if there's opportunities. That's all I'm asking.
Absolutely.
We're in the house.
March 10th is our ribbon cutting. We want you to come and check it out. We had to go through a lot of supply chain issues. I learned about supply chain issues. We expected to have this up and running actually by the fall, but one new supply chain issue after another. We learned some things about how to make things happen, and we just kept plugging away. Every time they brought a new issue, I said, well, this is a new opportunity to do something different. But again, the industry, people in industry are really, really supportive of this. And this is a way for them to get into a connectivity with HBCUs that they would not otherwise have done so. And this is just it's bigger than, a lot of people think about sports and the athletic departments. And when I saw that, I said, no, this is bigger than that. This is much bigger than that.
Thank you very much, sir. So we move on to special presentation 6B, presentation on award to the Southern University by the National Telecommunications Information Administration for $9 million for the Connecting Minority Communities, both the Law Center and SUBR. Which will go first on the presentations? Ms. Johnson.
Yes, so again, this is an opportunity that actually came to the Department of Commerce. And because we had been doing some stuff with the Department of Commerce with some other opportunities, we kind of helped work through some processes to even craft some of the rules that allowed Southern University to have the system to have multiple applications. And perhaps, I think Suno put it in an application, and perhaps Suno might also get a grant. So I'll leave it at that and let the experts who really know what's going on talk about it.
Ms. Lava Johnson.
Good morning. Good
Morning.
morning, Chair, board members, president, chancellors. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to present this to you. Law Center take every opportunity to apply for grants and any other means to bring funding. This allows us to provide needed resources for our students. In July 12, 26, August 9 of 2021, Southern University Law Center sponsored 3 in conjunction with NTIA to discuss and provide information to all HBCUs regarding the CMC grant. 62 HBCUs attended with multiple participants during the webinars. November 2021, we applied for the Connecting Minority Community Pilot Program, the CMC grant. Our goal is to assist not only our students, but also Baton Rouge landmass students, the community, and rural areas within 15-mile radius. Law Center applied for $3,029,484 to fund our Creating Digital Leaders plan. The application included Law Center, Southern University Landmass, Southern University College of Business, Southern University John B. K Library, 12 high schools, 15 libraries, 3 churches, and community centers. That grant is now approved, and SULC and Southern University A&M College have embarked into a new journey to create digital leaders. These are the communities that is part of the grant. So our plan includes expanding broadband capacity. As you see, some of them are highlighted. Those are rural communities, okay? When you look at this map, the pink area is where we were qualified to include in this grant. And as you see, all those spots that you see, that's how we expanded into the edge of the 15-mile radius where we can get communities some help in expanding this, providing them technology, okay? So our plan is to expand, first plan is to expand broadband capacity and connectivity to Southern University landmass. There is Wi-Fi within the buildings, but there is none outside the buildings. So what we are trying to do is provide Wi-Fi throughout the 512 acres of land, as well as the communities around the law school, I mean, Southern University. So what we're going to put is radio Wi-Fi antennas, outdoor wireless access points, providing seamless roaming for students to move throughout the campus. So we included Southern University Library. We included the library, and we're going to provide them with resources within the landmass, will also be increased and upgraded for students. Students as well as faculty will have a fully upgraded centralized training center. Students will be provided with group study rooms with Zoom option. This will allow the students that are on campus as well as off campus to study together. Mobile video conferencing cards will also be provided, so other areas can be used for studying purpose and training purpose. A laptop option is also, a laptop lending program will also be provided to the library where the students can borrow laptops. College of Business. College of Business, the plan is to upgrade their technology over there. With the technology, these students will have also access to and gain ability to engage in numerous partnership courses, online STEM training courses. These courses require devices of higher computing power that is currently not available. Community institutions. The plan with this also reach out to reach technology to qualified high schools, libraries, churches, and community centers within 15-mile radius. High school students are one of the prime demographic to create human capital in the STEM field. Equipment these students with digital skills, resources, empower them to obtain high-paying technology jobs and or create entrepreneurial opportunities which will stimulate economic growth. Students at high schools will be able to engage with dual enrollment classes, stackable credits from Southern University, along with STEM training. Libraries are also targeted to provide not only students, but also to the community have access to resources. Some qualified churches and community centers were also added to the grant to provide technology where there are additional resources for the community. As you know, Law Center provide legal assistance information session on bankruptcy, civil and administrative law, criminal, disaster law, divorce and domestic violence, elder and succession law, eviction and housing issues, juvenile law, low-income taxpayer, mediation, technology and entrepreneurship, and workers' compensation through our law students who are supervised by licensed attorneys. Our clinical legal services are free of charge and have the ability to be delivered in safe virtual environment. Unfortunately, these necessary training, informational sessions, and programs can only be reached to students and community members who have connectivity to these systems. At this time, lots of this community is without our free clinical legal services, information session, and training due to lack of broadband access, affordability, and literacy. Devices at these locations bring internet services to individuals who previously had no access to broadband. These devices can provide access to virtual training session and training from College of Business, SULC, to those adults who need it. What's our goal? To address the needs which include both the needs of students, communities, as SULC developed the Creating Digital Leader Plan. Through this grant, the SULC will be able to build the broadband infrastructure and IT capacity for SULC and Southern University landmass to support over 9,000 individuals. Partner with College of Business to build skills and IT workforce capacity through STEM program offered to 32 community organizations. Stimulate adoption and community use of broadband services by accessing telelaw via the clinical legal programs with connection on disaster preparedness, business information and entrepreneurship, and business technical assistance for thousands of individuals. Also provide need-based students with resources needed to compete in a digital age, and provide subsidized broadband access to and technology equipment to low-income and in-need high school, churches, community centers, libraries, and members of the community. So who are the team players for this grant to be successful? Lara Johnson, that's myself. Mala Dickerson, Associate Vice Chancellor of Innovation and Strategic Partnership and Initiative, will lead the SULC Virtual Training Session Program. Dr. Dawn Kite and her staff will be responsible for monitoring and handling all matters concerning the library and lending program for the equipment. Dean Donald Andrews, Dean of Southern University College of Business, will lead the College of Business Virtual Training Session Program. Derek Warren, Associate Dean and MBA Director, will be responsible for College of Business Lending Program and Virtual Training Section Program offered by College of Business. Yolanda Smith, DXC Technology Team Project Manager, will lead high school educational program and will coordinate with the College of Business faculty for the STEM courses for high school students. Jessica Jansen, Director of Technology Resources for East Baton Rouge School System, will be the high school point of contact and will assist Chief of Staff for the Superintendent of East Baton Rouge School System in selecting students who will benefit from the courses. Mary Stain, Assistant Director of Library at East Baton Rouge Parish, will coordinate and manage the equipment and digital resources for the library. 2 IT-focused individuals will be hired at SULC. Do you all have any questions?
Ms. Reeves?
Curious, what's the timeline on this project? When does it
2
start?
years.
2 years?
Yes,
Okay.
but we are planning to finish purchasing equipments and things like that before end of the year and get it all installed. And then we have to show the feds that the program is working. So within a year, we'll finish that part and then start what we have explained to them, what we're going to do with the project. Then we can show them and send them some statistics and reports on that.
Dr. Williams?
And I know that you're talking about the laying and the expansion and implementation of broadband services. And so to do more internal upgrades to our infrastructure here. My question is this an opportunity now that we will assist with student services and others to utilize AI to be, because we now should have an infrastructure in place that we will be able to capture data that we would need to utilize for retention and recruiting efforts as well. So is this an opportunity, Dr. Pierre, with the upgrades that's going to come to this to be more inclusive of other departments as well? I know we're talking the business department leading it on the educational side of it, but now on the infrastructure side where we can bring in more opportunities. And I think one of the problems, I'm looking at your Shreveport, can help me with is the fact that we have not been able to truly capitalize on that AI contract because the data has not been able to be captured because of infrastructure here. So will these dollars be utilized for the upgrade of infrastructure campus-wide?
So, thank you for the question. So my answer to that,
If you will,
okay,
let us be mindful that we have newer board members here. We'll rattle off some initials because we're comfortable. AI.
Artificial
So let's-
intelligence.
Yeah. Let's just be mindful. Thank you, Dr. Williams.
okay.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas.
So this is my answer to your question. I think the answer is yes, because you're going to hear another presentation from Southern University and A&M College, I think Dr. Stubblefield. So our piece is just $3 million of the $9.3 million award. So imagine what has happened here. And so some folks have said, well, how did Southern University get 2? Well, we might get 3. And so the first swath came 18.5 million, 6.2 million is awarded to Southern University and A&M. The second swath was about 9 million. We got 3 million. So the point is, we can use this, and we've been working together. President Shields and I have been having conversations, and we're going to have more conversations because we want to layer those dollars so that we can have a synergistic impact. And this is just part of it. We invited the city of Baton Rouge and a lot of folks to come look at what we're doing because we want more money to really have an impact. We're going to go to the state for some funding and other people. And this is also part of a larger strategy. Mrs. Smith knows a little bit about it because we actually have the same strategy in rural communities, but beyond the 15 miles with the United States Department of Agriculture through the distance learning and telemedicine grant. So while this is happening here, this is also happening out in rural communities in Tangipahoa Parish and North Louisiana, St. Landry, et cetera, et cetera. So this is part of a multi-year process to essentially have Louisiana get caught up with, I'm gonna tell you the state, North Carolina. North Carolina started this 12 years ago. Unfortunately, previous administrations at the state level blew this opportunity, didn't take advantage of this opportunity the Department of Commerce provided to us back in 2009, 8, 10, et cetera. And so we're now playing catch up. We're only about 12 to 15 years behind, but we can run fast.
The reason I ask, and I know that Ken Dawson is here, he and I served on a national board during that time when that money was allocated here. But my question goes back to, will the upgrades that's going to happen assist, and I apologize, Dr. Penning, with other contracts that we have? Will this, it won't just be a patchwork, it will be an opportunity for upgrades that will assist in the use of AI and capturing data so that we can utilize it for recruitment and retention? Is that a possibility?
You have to be specific what you're going to do. And what we submitted was the broadband, Wi-Fi for the whole campus, which takes up most of the funding, in addition to what we're going to provide the communities. So that will establish what the students can get out of this. You see what I'm saying? But we are looking at other grants also to see what else to probably look at, what you might have in your mind. We can talk about that.
But the installation of the WAPs, the wireless access points, and the other work that you're putting in should be able to support our system is the only question that I'm asking.
Yeah.
That we would be able to extract the data that we would need for the use of artificial intelligence for retention and recruiting purposes.
We can look into putting some software, some statistical analysis type of information into it. That won't affect this grant writing. So we can look into that to pull in data. Yes. Thank you.
And again, the answer is yes, but we're gonna need additional resources, which is why we're gonna be aggressive about getting those additional resources. And the collaboration and the integration is critical right now.
Any further yes,
A comment. I would like to make a comment in regards to some of the work that they are doing, and also thank them for reaching out to Tangipahoa Parish. And they have, I know, inclusive to the new library at Kentwood, Louisiana, and the elementary school, and the equipment has already started to come in. So it's a fact there. They have written it and they're working toward that means. And it is going to help bring the the test scores and academic part of Kentwood and Tangipahoa Parish to a higher level. So I want to thank you for that. I've been on top of it and you've been responsive. So thank you again.
Any other questions? Mr. President, do you have a comment?
Just very briefly, the bigger picture of this is the aspect of being stewards of place as a university and helping the region where we are located thrive. And so I'm grateful for these folks for stepping into this void and making this happen. This really is an inflection point because you have leadership in Washington that views HBCUs as leverage into these underserved, under-resourced populations. And what you have is some folks here that have taken the lead to make that happen, and I'm grateful to them for it.
Thank you. And no further questions. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, Chancellor. We move on to item 6C. Presentation. I'm sorry.
SUBR portion of this grant. Dr. Stubblefield to comment on that. I'm sorry.
Updated, or is they both the same? They should be both the same. Okay. Give me a second. Just let this screen right now. Okay. Tell me quick. Either or sides.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Stubblefield. I have the pleasure of serving as Vice Chancellor of Research here on the Baton Rouge campus. We are as well excited about receiving the Connecting Minority Communities grant, $6.2 million awarded to this particular campus. One of the things that Chancellor Pierre stated was that their program actually supports the backbone development for the campus. So that's the physical infrastructure. And how do you actually connect to these communities, some of the ones he's mentioned? This project here actually focuses on connecting the resources of our campus, for instance, our virtual visualization facility lab that's in our engineering college. How do we bring that out to communities, to other schools on this campus? So we're very pleased to work with the Southern University Laboratory School, as well as some other schools in this place to have these controlled sites, but even taking further out into where we can go into rural America. So again, to set the stage, only 4 slides. So we'll get through it fairly quickly, but definitely feel free to ask us any questions along the way. So our goals are very simple. We partner with Alcorn State University, Louisiana Tech, and BetaFlexes, which is a virtual curriculum development company. And one of the great things about this particular mixture is that Southern University has a chance not only to impact middle school students, but we're also creating new curriculum in the STEM space, science, technology, engineering, agriculture, and mathematics. So I should say STEAM. But another great thing about it is that when we look at the opportunity for future growth, one of the things that the president's always mentioned is about, how does the university actually position himself to support the engagement of a pipeline? And how do we actually prepare our students today to be future recruiters into the institution? Well, one of the great things about that is actually aligning our curriculum based on what, for instance, the Louisiana Workforce Commission or the Louisiana Department of Economic Development is saying, what are those critical industries? So our curriculum actually allows us to say, what can we develop as an interesting tool for us to be able to excite students in these particular spaces, right? So for us, again, it's about engineering, science, agriculture, and mathematics. But also it's about how do we actually get into those communities? Well, we saw a presentation earlier about esports. So that's how kids are excited, right, and engaged. But now we have to get them engaged or excited about biology, chemistry, all those things that determine who's going to be the future doctors and also the lawyers that are familiar with those particular spaces as well. So our thing is to be able to push out new training processes, training platforms into these communities. But one of the hardest things is about how can we take this lab here at Southern University? And I'm inviting you guys to come see us in PBS Pinchback Engineering Building, right? It's a 3D virtualization environment. You can walk in, you're just totally immersed in it. And you can see all different types of things in there. So what we're doing is creating curriculum around those different topics that we can actually create and excite and enthuse students to say, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be. So again, a lot of the funding that the Law Center is utilizing, again, is to support that digital backbone. How do we actually strengthen our ability to deliver and support that connection to those communities? Now, again, when we're talking about going to, for us, again, it's a 15-mile radius, right? So we had to think about it a little bit differently. Working with the lab school and Helix Academy, for instance, allows us to say that this is our urban site. Now, it's always about, it's still about research, right? So how do you actually look at the difference of delivery in terms of an urban space compared to a rural site? So that's one of the reasons why we, again, started working with Alcorn State University. Now, one great thing about partnering with them, it allows us to say that 15-mile radius allows us to come right back across the river into Louisiana. So we're actually able to touch some of the those rural communities north of Baton Rouge. So control groups, control studies. How do we deliver? So now this is a pilot, right? So I guess I'm really getting excited because I see the end of the story, right? So one of the things is that we're creating new curriculum. But again, it's about tech transfer, technology commercialization, right? So now if we're creating this particular type of new product that's actually aligned with the state's curriculum, now we actually look at new topics, new courses. We're creating things more than middle school. We're doing high school. So now, this is what we we're talking about before, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. So this means we have to do it right. So how do we create some type of centralized space center that supports workforce development, that allows us to be really engaged in curriculum development, taking this pilot and creating new products that we can actually push out to other school sites. So we get a chance to try it out. So that's the challenge, right? How do we impact these 200+ teachers and across East Baton Rouge Parish, Point Capee, West Baton Rouge, and Tensaw Parish, as well as Claiborne and Jefferson is our first sites. I already mentioned Southern University Laboratory School, Helix Aviation Academy, and you see Columbia University on there, right? So that's one of the new partnerships that we're pushing forward with right now. So one great thing about that one is we've already started working with them and identifying undergraduate and faculty research teams to really grow our capacity in certain spaces. One is in the science and math education side. And also, how do we work with them and some of the things that they do well? Now, the chancellor mentioned earlier about, these are the experts, right? But I truly am not the expert. So I'm pleased to work with Dr. Guillory, who's leading our evaluation assessment. He's in this, our doctoral program, Science, Math, and Education, the SMED program. Dr. Brian Warren is in the College of Engineering and Sciences, specifically mechanical engineering, but he joined us from Tennessee, working for one of the Department of Energy national labs out there. So he has a tremendous amount of expertise and knowledge around that space. Dr. Laura Young, she actually leads one of our LIGO programs. About most recent award is about $2.5 million. It's probably received maybe like $8-9 million over this course of its existence. But one great thing about that, now we're leveraging resources, right? They're working with science and education students. So how do we actually utilize them? One of the things the president was talking about, we need to identify ways where we can engage our students where we can hire them to be undergraduate research in a day-to-day life while they're here. So how do we leverage things like financial aid or some of our other funding to say, let's use Pell Grant or some other funds instead of having them work from 3 to 4 hours a day, something like nothing wrong with it, like a McDonald's, something like that. But it doesn't provide you the necessary skill sets to say that you're working in your space. So those type of programs allow us to leverage these things. Now, the smart person on that list is Miss Deidre Street, right? I just sketched the proposal out on a piece of paper, and we wrote out the proposal from there. So I just kind of just write things out and say, let's go and make things work. But it's exciting bringing these groups of people together. So those are anticipated impact, 1,500 middle school students, 6th through 8th grade. It is a 2-year program. The rules are the same in terms of what's allowable, can be allowed, because it's the same pot of funds. We just decided to focus on the development of a workforce pipeline to the middle school area at the level. Some things I already mentioned, so I don't want to repeat it again, but utilize some of the facilities that we have on campus, our computer-aided virtual environment, our CAVE, and VR equipment. So we are using virtual spaces to move these things forward. And again, curriculum development, broadband network access, and we'll be riding off the chancellor's investment into the infrastructure on the campus. So we don't have to do that part. So that's it, guys. So thank you for your attention.
How are you engaging local businesses as you build out the curriculum, finding out what workforce issues they have, concerns? Is there an advisory group or focus groups with local business?
So not for this particular grant, but one of the things we did though was engage with organizations such as on a daily basis, to be frank with you, like economic development or workforce, those places like that, because they're saying these are the types of companies that we're recruiting to Louisiana. So we often are invited to participate in those recruitment exercises. So we are always aware of what the types of companies they're looking for.
Mhm.
And we try to create those programs around those spaces.
Any other questions? Anyone?
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Stubblefield.
sir.
That concludes the presentation of this section. That was Chancellor. Thank you very much. So we can return back to
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am quite privileged to make this presentation to Roger Kadar, whom I have known for probably 41 plus years. When I met him, he was an assistant basketball coach before he became the head baseball coach. And while an undergraduate here at Southern, I worked for him very briefly, filming baseball games. One memorable game against Texas Southern in Houston, I spent more time watching the game and the crowd and missed some important at-bats and balls and strikes, and he fired me. Mr. Chairman, the setting will not permit me to repeat what he communicated to me while firing me, but it was memorable. I had the distinct pleasure of accompanying him, Mr. Rodney Kershaw, who's our Assistant Athletic Director, Hilla Moore, who is the District Attorney for East Baton Rouge Parish, and his son Jonathan to Omaha, Nebraska this past weekend, where he and one of his players, Ricky Weeks, were inducted into the National College Baseball Hall of Fame. It was a really good weekend, despite being 6 degrees. And it was a good weekend for Southern University. I want to say this as he comes up and we present this very nice plaque on behalf of the board to him. Some of you may have seen very recently the results of a longitudinal study conducted by Harvard on how to live a happy life. There's a book that summarizes it called The Good Life. And what it concluded was that those that lived longest and happiest had the strongest connections to family, to friends, and to their community. And Coach, if that's the basis for living a long and happy life, you just might live forever. So on behalf of the Southern University Board of Supervisors, our entire system, I'm very pleased to present you with this plaque that outlines and details all of your accomplishments over the years as the head baseball coach at Southern University. We know you have something to say.
You're right about that. Thank you, the board, Mr. Rutledge, for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know a lot of important things are on the agenda, and I could tell but this is a special time for me, my family, to be honored in so many ways in the last few days. I mean, it's been a worldwide thing. And you know, when you first start coaching, you're not thinking you're going to ever be a Hall of Famer. My goal was just to be successful, try to make sure I represent the kids in the university in the best way I knew how. And a lot of good things happened. I got a lot of good players. Parents trust me with that most prized possession. And we were able to put things in place where they were able to follow and accomplish and do good things. And Southern University benefited from the hard work and the dedication that these young people gave us. So that's my roadmap to success. It wasn't nothing elaborate. You know, I see Dr. Tarver, when he was president, we did a lot of good things, you know, and I know you mentioned I was an assistant coach. He remembered when I was an assistant coach in basketball. So I've done everything here. I've been very privileged to be able to play basketball and baseball at Southern, and then coach basketball and baseball. Not many people are still alive on this earth can say that. And I've had over a 50-year relationship with this university, and it's going strong. I feel like I'm 50 years old. So thanks so much, okay?
I'm done. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we're back to the adoption of the agenda for the committee. Motion to do so.
This agenda is read. Thank you very much. All of those in favor, and on sign of aye. Those opposed. Public comments. Are there any public comments in reference to any agenda item for the committee at this time? Seeing no one, hearing nothing, let's move on to action item 9A, request approval of honorary degrees for Tyron Williams, Dylan Young, and Broderick Moore, SUBR. Mr. President, who is making a presentation? Dr. Sahu is not here.
Dr. Sahu's not here, so I don't think I need to make much of a presentation. You all know that we lost 3 students, 3 human jukebox members in a very fatal, tragic accident. And it was unanimous amongst the board that we honor these guys, not just by recognizing them. I attended a funeral. I think several other board members attended different funerals, but I attended one funeral. And I've shared this story with you all, but if you don't remember, Dylan Young, his uncle, his mom, and I was in his parents' wedding. Dylan Young, I gave a board scholarship to, didn't realize who he was, and after giving the scholarship and his untimely death, realized that he was one of the students that I had given the board scholarship to. So this one hit home, realizing that I had actually been in his parents' wedding, and his uncle and I grew up together and got in a lot of trouble together when we were younger. So this was very special to our board, and we just wanted to honor these young men in the highest way that we can. Dylan, I know for sure, would have been a 3rd generation Southern University graduate. And so we discussed it amongst ourselves, and here we are today. So I won't belabor the moment, but I'm sure you all know about what happened. And so we thought this would be the highest way that we can honor these young men. And so,
Mr. Vice Chairman, this is B. Joy.
Dr. Tarver, I'd like to
make a motion to
the committee can.
Dr. Sahu, who is.
Oh, Dr. Sahu's here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dr. Sahu. I didn't know.
We can't hear you, Dr.
No.
Sahu.
Thank you so much. I appreciate, we're talking about technology. I'm recruiting 10,000 miles away for the PhD programs consistent with our Carnegie classified R2 status, and also computer science, supply chain, and I added electrical engineering to it.
Was it pre-recorded?
No. So let me just assure the board the appropriate internal approvals by faculty and the academic side have been done to approve this moving forward. Thank you.
It was approved by the academic council.
Unanimously adopt this motion. All of those in favor, on sign of aye. Those opposed, so have it. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you.
Next, we move on to action item 9B, request approval of letter of curriculum change child welfare certificate program, SUNO. Yes, Doctor.
Good morning, and thank you, Dr. Tarver and members of the Academic Affairs Committee, members of the board, President Shields, the School of Social Work at SUNO continues to break new ground. And in doing so, continue to focus on some of the most critical needs in our society. And they have now developed an online interpersonal certificate program in child welfare practice. The targeted audience for this certificate are current child welfare workers, master level social work students, and professionals in nursing, public health, psychology, criminal justice, and sociology. There is a grant that funds this certification. One of our outstanding professors, Dr. Torrin Sanders, will serve as the director. And this program will have 5 courses. And when the students complete those 5 courses, they will have an extremely important certification in child welfare practice. So, Mr. Chairman, I ask your approval of this curriculum change in the School of Social Work.
Do I hear a motion to adopt this? There's been a motion by Dr. Williams and seconded by Ms. Dudley. All those in favor, and on sound of aye. Those opposed, so have it. Passed. Thank you very much. Is there any other business at this time? Yes, Dr. Williams.
Dr. Sahu is not here, but President Shields, if we could start looking at the ACT requirement for adult learners, I think right now it's 23. And I know that UNO, it's like 18. And so I think that if we could reduce or look at it, because I know that each institution has the opportunity to set theirs. So even if we reduce it and then allow them in to go through like a SUSLA Connect program, I think it reduces barriers for our adult learners that still would like to get a second chance. You know, they've completed the high set and then coming into a Southern University system. And again, I understand that Dr. Sahu isn't here, but I just wanted to put it out there for the discussion to start, because I think that's some low hanging fruit that we're leaving out there.
Dr. Sahu, he is listening.
Right.
He's at a distance. I'll just be candid with you. I don't know that an adult, why we would set a 23 on an ACT as an adult learner. So it's news to me. We will look into it and assure that we are setting standards that make it accessible to adult learners.
Yeah. And I mean, we weren't the only ones, but there were some who did, some who didn't. That one was actually brought to me because this person was trying. So I was saying, at least we could start the conversation, because SUSLA Connect is still there to help them out.
Thank you. Any other further comments or questions? Yes. Ms. Ralston.
I just have a quick question, focusing on enrollment and recruiting. So the Law Center, the students at Southern University VR, of course, had mentioned a lot of interest in attending the Law Center. And I wanted to know, is the 3+3 program still in place? And also, if it is in place, are only English majors eligible? Because I would like to discuss that.
Dr. Pierre.
So there are actually multiple avenues for early admission to the Law Center. So 3+3, and you said English majors, I think that's it's not up to date. We actually did something with the Honors College. We had something with political science. We actually developed something called the Early Admissions Program, which has nothing to do with a 3+3. It really is depending upon the LSAT score, the student's recommendation by the dean. We have actually had a couple of students from Southern University actually access either early admissions or 3+3. Actually, one was a business major. So the real key to all of this is with respect to the ABA and the various standards they have for admission. Now, you may have read recently that the council voted to, quote, eliminate LSAT scores as a requirement for institutions, but the ABA actually in the mid-year meeting, the body said no to that. And there's a lot of debate, but what we try to do with respect to that is this. So a lot of people look at 3+3 and they say, wow, this is kind of nice and easy to go through. It's actually very rigorous. The last person to get that early admission was Robin Renee Keys from LSU. And so we've had that open to students from wherever they came from. We have one that's going to graduate actually this year from Boise State. So the point is, we've always had those options available. The problem has been that we have never been able to really cultivate the process in terms of students, because one of the issues, and we've talked throughout the system, is that there's always this issue about how do we do, what do we do with that fourth year? What happens? How do we get someone with the bachelor's degree in the fourth year counted for the first year law school? And that's really always been a problem. That's not really a Southern University Law Center issue. It's really an issue for undergraduate institutions to try to figure out how they do that. In the case of the young man who got to the business degree, he didn't get a degree from Southern University and A&M College, which I thought was a tragedy. He got it from the law center. He just got his law degree and passed the bar and is practicing law right now. So that's an issue that really is not so much dependent on the law center. It's dependent upon undergraduate institutions around the country. And we've been approached most recently by Lincoln University and other schools. Now, let me say this. You have a lot of schools, like, for example, I'm going to pick a school in Boston. What they do is, it's a shame, but it's a gimmick. They say we create these 3+3 programs with HBCUs, but the reality is the admission standards are so high that the likelihood of a student ever getting through that program or ever even getting admitted is slim and none. So what we wanted to do at the Law Center was we wanted to create a real program where you really had students who have taken advantage of it, who really qualify in the sense of they have a real shot, because the change in rigor from undergraduate studies to law school and the sense of maturity is really, really different. But we've had successful students year after year that have done it. And here's the great thing. They can take advantage of TOPS. They can use TOPS for at least the first year of their program to help reduce the cost. So we're all in favor of it from that standpoint, but it takes a lot of coordination. And the issue is not so much on the Law Center side, it's really, and again, this is not about Southern University, this is about undergraduate education across the board.
I guess the reason I asked is because I noticed that the most prominent program that I heard of right here in Baton Rouge was Louisiana State. But if we're at the system, then of course I have a focus on our undergraduate students who are literally right across from us. So I definitely want to talk to Dr. Sahu and you, I guess, at a later time and flesh that out.
Well, and actually the reason Robin Renee Keys came here is LSU created a program with, I think, the School of, Social Sciences and Liberal Arts. And the reality is none of those students were getting access to the program. In other words, we had LSU students, and there's another young lady who actually is from Shreveport. Her mother works at SUNO. She was going to come to the program, but she actually graduated within 3 years. And LSU would not admit her into law school because her LSAT score, according to them, wasn't sufficient for them, even as a graduate. And she's been a superstar. She's worked for ACLU, the National Football League, NASCAR, and now she's in Los Angeles as an entertainment lawyer from Shreveport, Louisiana. Go figure.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Just out of curiosity, I know there's been chatter about going away from some of the tests like LSAT and things of that nature. Certainly, even requiring kids to have take the ACT test. Where is that? Is that anything that's probable?
I personally don't think it will really work for law schools for a couple of reasons. One, the ABA accreditation standards have so many traps that you have to be careful. So let's say we went away from requiring an ACT, LSAT, for example. Let's say we went away from it. Let's say eventually that gets to it. They might get to it in 3 years. Well, the reason they claim it's a good idea is because it will increase diversity. I don't think so. And I got a diversity expert right there, right in front of me, Dr. President Shields. I think he's a diversity expert, and I don't know if he agrees with me or not, but I don't think that's the real. Diversity is about intention. Diversity is about doing the hard work to find talent and to looking at factors other than a particular score. Diversity requires one to really do some deep dive research about characteristics of what it takes to succeed. And so there's a risk associated with diversity because the scores, they keep telling us all the time, and we always have to look over our shoulder because we never know when the ABA is going to come and hit us over the head. And then on the back end, if your bar passage rates, which the ABA has set, I think, an unreasonable standard, if you're below that level, then they point to the fact of who you admitted and diversity. And look at what's happening in Florida and Texas. Now it's become a tool where the Florida governor wants to strip all DEI funding, same thing in Texas. So we have to be very careful about running down these roads. And a lot of people may have good intention, but they have no clue of what really is involved because they don't live in that world. They just don't. I mean, when somebody from Yale, Harvard talks about their commitment to diversity, University of Michigan, I know what diversity means to them. It means that, for example, if an African-American candidate, if I got an African-American candidate with an LSAT score 150 plus, I got to fight to get that student to come to Southern University Law Center because they're going to get a whole bunch of money to go to other schools. In fact, there's a young lady that's going to transfer back to us who got $30,000 in scholarships to go to a school in Chicago, but the school costs $60,000. And she hadn't even factored the cost of living in Chicago and the weather. and we offered her a very nice scholarship. I think our scholarship to her was about $12,000 a year, but it didn't sound like 30. Well, it didn't have to be 30 because her tuition was only going to be 18. Tuition and fees. So it's a complicated issue.
So I know something about law school admissions.
A little bit.
We don't have time today to thrash through all these issues. One of the reactions I have watching this over a long time about 3+3, I'm an advocate actually of not rushing through undergraduate law school. And I understand some of the reasons behind that, but I actually encourage students to take a couple of years off after they get their bachelor's degree before they go to law school. That maturing process doesn't necessarily make them smarter per se, but I think it does prepare them for the rigors of law school and having a better perspective on their lives. Now, that's just my opinion. I think there are plenty of people who've gone 6 years through and graduated from law school at age 22 or 23 and done very well. But that's not the norm. And figuring out how to make judgments about whether someone can be successful in that program is, I think, a student by student assessment. So, but they're I do think, to answer your question, Mr. Chairman, the ABA is allowing more flexibility in the tests that, whether or not you have to have a test and what tests are acceptable to be represented. Thank you.
Any other?
Me? Hi. So President Shields, I definitely actually resonate with that. I took 2 years off before I came to law school. Chancellor Pierre can tell you that. And I worked for several firms and I attribute it to my success. The only reason I brought this up is because if the students are on the same landmass, but they go somewhere else and they don't have the knowledge or the requisite knowledge to understand how to get into our school, but they see these programs are offered and it's benefiting other students when we're a part of the same system is my concern. So I guess we'll just speak about that offline, but I definitely resonate with taking time after law school.
I think you make a valid point.
And if I may, you're making a very, very valid point, because 10 years ago, we might have only had 2 or 3 students from SUBR come to law school. And we made a concerted effort to increase that number significantly, because the number 1 feeder school for Southern University Law Center, and still is LSU and A&M College for students of all races. And that's the truth. And the success stories of students who go to LSU for undergrad and come to Southern for law school, phenomenal. But you know, that's just a tough world we live in. But we have increased the number of students from Southern University tremendously. I mean, just leaps and bounds.
Any further comments? Any other business before us? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn, please? So moved. Doesn't require a second. Thank you. Wait, oh, Mr. Vice Chair, I'm sorry.
In the absence of Myron, briefly, we will move on to facilities and properties, and Attorney Edward Shorty will bring this to order.
Thank you, Mr. Vice
Chair. By the way, Mr. President, I went straight through and graduated from law school at 25. I never took a break. Just saying. The facilities and property. The Facilities and Property Committee is called to order. Roll calls, please, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Attorney Edwin Shorty, Chair.
Present.
Attorney Des Moines Rutledge, Vice Chair. Dr. Ronnie Whitfield.
Present.
Mr. Paul P. Matthews. Mrs. Ann Smith. Dr. Leon Tarver II. Mr. Myron Lawson.
He's here.
He's there. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Moved and properly seconded. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, we'll go on to our informational item. Mr. Dawson.
Good morning. Thank you, Facility Chair Shorty, to President Shields, and to Chairman Lawson. We have a lot of things going on in facility, and so we are very happy to say that. So today, what I'm going to do is kind of go through a listing to give an idea of when we can kind of start breaking ground, have some shovels in the ground. So that means a lot of photo ops and people come in and we'll be breaking the ground. So we'll be going through kind of the chart that I have provided for you. In that chart also, I'm going to try to expand the format so it's a little easier to see, and more information will be provided. So let me go through these quickly. Just to let you know, all the projects are managed by FP&C. It's not that we don't have direct management responsibility.
Mr. Dawson,
yes,
we have new board members.
Oh, okay.
What is F?
Okay, good.
PMC.
Thank you. It's Facility Planning and Control. They're the Division of Administration of the state. They're responsible for handling all of our projects. Okay. So what we go through, we have a project that's assigned to university, anything over $1 million, they take complete control and management, from assigning an architect to actually developing and getting the contractor. Okay. So they handle the projects. The expectation of the timeline is definitely based upon what they do. Also, of course, continuing efforts to make sure that these projects are funded through our procedures and through our efforts at the state level. during session is also important. So let's go through these quickly. The Ravine Buff project is ongoing. That's a project managed by DOTD. The estimated date of breaking ground on that is July 24th. It's all dependent upon approval from the feds, and they're working through that process. The STEM building, I'm glad to say that we had our CMAR kickoff meeting yesterday. The CMAR is called Construction Management at Risk. It's a program that allows the architect to develop the drawings to a certain percentage, sometimes 30 to 60%. Then a contractor is hired. After the review and working with the contractor and the architect, they give the university a guaranteed maximum price. That means that they've decided that the price is not going to exceed this amount. That means that change orders are not allowed at that particular point unless there is some unforeseen reason, like an Indian burial ground they didn't know about or something like that, or a request of the user or the university, we want something different. So we had that kickoff meeting yesterday. It was attended by a considerable amount of contractors, so we're very pleased with it. We're looking at breaking ground on that project, possibly February the 24th. We also, the new business school, that date of starting is March of 2024. What we're excited about that right now, Ms. Simone Whitmore is not here because she's at a meeting at FPNC at down at the Cleburne building, because we're discussing the schematic design with the architects now. So right after this meeting, I'm going to jet down there to attend that as well. The J.K. Haynes Nursing School, of course, that's a project that we had $10 million in our P5 appropriations from last year. We're looking at, if everything goes as planned, we're looking at breaking ground or starting on something on that around November of 2024. Stewart Hall wall mining units, that's a working schedule. We're making some changes there. So we think that's going to happen pretty quickly because we work with the engineer of doing some things that's going to push that project forward. The university cafeteria at SUNO, that's going back to the legislature for an additional $5 million of that project. So once that's handled, we will move forward with getting a date of when the ground will break on that. Looking at the exterior lighting projects at SUNO, we have several going on. We have a $500,000 project that we're doing now as an emergency to provide lighting. As Dr. Ammon said, there was a need. We're doing that. There's an additional $1 million that has been approved, and we're moving forward with a meeting next week. I will be at SUNO next week to discuss getting that accomplished. So we expect that to happen pretty soon this year, getting that lighting done. At Susler, the new health physical education building, last time I told you that selection process has taken place. We have an architect selected, and we will be going through programming, schematic design with that pretty soon. We anticipate, based upon the normal schedule, that November of 2024 we should be moving forward with that project. Also, the data science and analytical center, also architect has been chosen. We expect that project to break ground around January of 2025. Renovation of the law library, that's a project that we're moving forward with. We've gone through schematic design. We're going through even some designs on that. We expect that to start sometime in September of this year. So that renovation should be taking place this year. The Disaster Mega Release Center, that's one that we're still working with the feds on to try to get a final decision. So we're working with GOSEF and we're working with the federal government to try to figure out that funding. And I know that Dr. Means is interested in hearing that, but we're working through it. Last time we have some self-funded projects that's been added. As you see, the Global Innovation Center, these projects are moving a little faster. Mainly because of the size of the project and what we're trying to do there. The Global Innovation Center, we expect that to be moving forth in November of 2023. We hope to break ground on that. The Public Safety Building, October of 2023. We expect that to happen. The TS Learning Center, again in October of this year. The Fisher Hall renovations, that's something we're still working through with FP&C. So we're still having some questions there, but we anticipate the 23rd, in December 2023, that would happen. And an outdoor classroom, that's another project that we have gotten architects involved, and they're moving pretty quickly. So November of 2023, all these projects are moving quickly because they were HERF dollars, and we had a shelf life on that money. So we're moving very quickly on those projects. And just to let you know, you will be seeing additions to this particular chart because we have a lot of deferred maintenance projects that we're doing on campus as well. At the Ag Center, we have the swine and poultry building that we're doing renovations to, which are very much needed. We have some renovations to the windows of this building that we put in considerable amount of dollars to, and also some work to the brick. And those things we're looking at trying to get started sometime latter part of this year, beginning of next year. So I know this was quick. It's a lot of information, but I hope it was helpful.
I would like to ask you, I know you're going to go meet with FPNC, and we've got a lot of projects that we're discussing with them, but I don't want us, I think we should take some of these things that we've gone through as a bit of a learning experience. And what I've seen in New Orleans is the state manages everything and takes control of everything. But then once they turn the building over to us, they wash their hands of it. And sometimes they give us less than, sometimes they give us shoddy work. And the building's nice and shiny, but then less than a year later, you've got problems that you shouldn't have. And I was just in the natural sciences building for a meeting at SUNO, and I noticed some things, and that's a brand new building. And I think I want to make sure that we maybe have our own inspectors look at some of these properties before the state washes their hands of it and says, hey, here's your building that you paid for. And we've managed everything and spent your money, but now we're not going to do anything, and we've turned over something shoddy to you. So how are we dealing with that?
Yes, sir. The point is,
Mr. President.
Ask that I have of the legislature is to increase our base funding so we can staff this up. And I'm hoping to provide Mr. Dawson at least 2 people, not just to inspect the projects at the end, but to monitor the projects all the way through. I mean, what you're seeing here is I've experienced at another institution where the state is supposed to be responsible for quality control. But if you rely on them alone, since they don't have to live with the building, it presents some challenges. So we're going to try to engage in some self-help to monitor these projects from the moment a shovel goes in the ground to the end. And I think it's a useful investment in the short term, but certainly in the long term.
I definitely support that. And I think that's something that the board should always be kept in the loop on, because they turn those buildings over to us and then you go, why do we have a leak in a building that's brand new? And then they just want to wash their hands of it. Mr. Gillum. Certainly, sir.
Carrying out to the point that the president just made, it appears again that there is a need to monitor the progress of those buildings. Good examples are all right. The best example I can bring to your attention would be the Jackson building in Shreveport. And of course, the HP gym. The quality of workmanship and the quality of the equipment materials was just so phenomenally low. I mean, the thing wasn't obviously meant to stand over 5 years, and that has proven just to be the case. So the point is well taken. But I understand too, we have a commitment from Ken and Simone that they have a mechanism to monitor that, so that when that key is turned, that building is ready. Former board member, Mr. Hilliard, talked about the lack of IT capability, I believe, in the Jackson building. Unthinkable that, first of all, someone would turn the building over to us like that, and that we would accept it in that condition. That's the issue. While I've got the floor too, just a minor point, I was trying to share with my new board member here, the Honorable Ms. Dudley, the update that you're giving to us. And I thought it was just something happening with our system here. The point I'm making is the font is somewhat smudged, that it's almost unreadable, as I was trying to share with it. So if indeed you might think about giving us just a classic PDF sent to each one of the board members, so we could read the grant.
It's sent out to everyone so that it's more legible.
That might help.
Ms. Smith and then Mr. Lawson and then Vice Chair Ring.
I could have missed it, but did you include or say anything about the gym area, the old men's gym and swimming pool?
No, it's not a project at this point. It's not anything stated as a project. It's something that we probably need to look at. But the gym that I mentioned was the one that was at Sussler.
Okay, all right. You're saying that it is something that you're gonna look at?
We're gonna look at it, yes.
Okay, I have one more question, and probably it should be directed to academic affairs. How can we cover not teaching swimming and we're having, oh, okay. All right, I'll take it back.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes. I guess I struggle with us. Sometimes you ask for too much, you get nothing. And I'm concerned sometimes, maybe in the past, we've been asking for too much. And sometimes people do what's politically correct. We end up in priority 5, right? And I know what happens when you end up in priority 5. I wish we could find a sweet spot, realistic spot. And I'm all for being ambitious about what you ask for. But I think in the future, we need to be more realistic about our acts. And I was looking at an article, I was trying to send it out to everyone. Texas Southern asked for, and it's probable, they may get it. And you wonder why they're doing so well with their infrastructure. Texas Southern is requesting $1 billion from the state legislature. So we've got to be very creative because we don't have Texas money in Louisiana. And that's why we are having the challenge keeping people in the classrooms. We're having buildings that's leaking. And I said to the president when he joined in with us, joined on with us, it's what you don't see that bothers you here. The pipes that you can't see that are corroding, but they'll let you know when the building is closed 3 in the morning as you come into a puddle. That happened recently. So I'm looking for a blend of what's reasonable and practical rather than making us happy here that you have it in priority 5 and nothing ends up happening. Now, am I wrong for my thinking or you tell me?
No, sir. I think that, and if you remember when we submitted the priorities, to the board a while ago, we started looking at projects that were currently in priority 5 and had some movement because there was some cash put in priority 2. The goal is to make sure we continue to move funding down to these projects, okay? Because I think my boss, Mr. McClinton, informed me when I first got here. I remember a project that we had $50 million and the new administration came in and evaporated. And of course, and my background is everything has to be completely funded before you can even go out. It's a little different. So we just have to make sure that even in our process that we move forward with the state, that we continually moving projects forward. Absolutely. And I think that as President Shields said, we have got to get eyes on this project. So even if you get a project done, and even if you get it built, if 2 years later you have leaks and 2 years later you have problems, well, still, what have you really gotten? So that is a very important component. In my career, I have never seen so many issues. Such a large number in buildings that were supposed to be handed over. So Ms. Whitmore and I are looking at a process to try to look at it, but we're definitely going to need boots on the ground and people out there looking at it. Contractors do what they're inspected to do, not what they're expected to do. So we have to look at it.
Dr. Whitfield.
Kenneth, and I may have missed it if you said this, but just so to inform the board, last week, or was that this week? I'm getting mixed up. Last week. We had the honor of touring Southern University Laboratory School with Governor John Bell Edwards, Paige Cortez of District 13, Lafayette. I think it's District 13, 14, and Cleo Fields, District 14. I think Paige is District 23. Director Brister and yourself, Mr. Dawson, as well as Ms. McClinton. And great tour, but unfortunately, a lot of problems at that institution. And so they are very, very serious about helping us push forward the initiative of rebuilding a Southern lab. We've been patchworking HVACs and cracks and seals, and it's going to cost us more to continue doing that than to actually get the school rebuilt. We had it on the agenda, they had on the agenda in legislature last year, something happened, but I think they are very, very serious about helping us push it through. So I just wanted to inform you guys that we are still on top of that. Ed, I didn't call, it was a last minute call, got a call from Thursday, Mac. Hey, we might meet tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And I literally left the office to get here on time so we could meet with those guys. But the governor was excited. They even went over and band was practicing and Cleo and the governor gave the band a few good words of encouragement. So very positive meeting. I'm very excited about it. So all my Southern Lab graduates who know I went to University High School, I'm still pushing for y'all regardless. So, but thank you so much, Mr. Dawson, for that tour and walking through. And Mr. Bristol was great. Mr. Clinton, thank you for coming for that.
Thank you, Dr. Whitfield. Ms. Foster and then Mr. Matthews.
Hi, Mr. Dawson.
Hello.
Thank you for, setting up a meeting with me per usual. I just wanted to bring about 3 things to your attention. Some that I've already talked about. You guys know I'm infamous for always bringing up parking because it's still an issue. I would also like to talk to the president later about customer service. Dr. Vitale knows very well. I do think that when people pick up the phone, they shouldn't be hung up on. So that's a big concern for me. Additionally, Law Center lighting, that's still a concern. I know that Chairman Lawson has talked to me about this. Chancellor Pierre has always been great, but I just want to put it on the record. We're still concerned about Law Center lighting because that regards to safety. The next thing, I went to a Senate meeting for the undergraduate students. They told me that the band room flooded recently. I don't know if it was recently or not, but I just wanted to kind of bring it to your attention. I know we already talked about that. And of course, I already sent you pictures of the union with those holes in the ceiling and the wall. So.
Yes, thank you. And parking situation, we're having some discussions with some other parties on what we can do with that. The Law Center lighting project, we just met with some people that are looking at increasing alumina and some of the lights. Hopefully that project is going to be a complete grant and it will be no funding needed from the university. So we're working on that project. The band room roof, we have issues with roofs and a lot of the buildings. We have brought it to FP&C attention. This is what they do. I mean, we are given a deferred maintenance budget at the end of the session. Last year, we got $7 million for the entire system. The issues even with the administration building, with the lintels deteriorating, with the brick, that's almost a $2 million deferred maintenance budget we have to put toward that. So if you're looking at $7 million, having to deal with all the it's not a lot. So you have to pick the most critical things and try to deal with it. So FP&C also has a roofing group that's supposed to go out and assist with that effort, but they are hard to get to come because they're so busy. But I'm contacted them. And I'm contacting Board of Regents to see if there's some extra dollars we can put to some of these immediate issues. Okay, but when you say an emergency with FP&C, it's not the same thing as we consider an emergency. Somebody comes out there right now and would do it. I can say that we have utilized the deferred maintenance budget this year to the best of our ability. We have a lot of projects going. And my goal is we will never have any deferred maintenance money sitting that was allocated at the previous session. Everything is going to be encumbered on a project and we're going to be moving toward a project. And so for everything we have this year, that's exactly what's happening.
Mr. Matthews, I'm sorry, Ms. Foster.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say I appreciate you. And of course, I'm with the Board of Regents too. So whatever you need from me, I'm very persistent, as you all know. Let me know and I will bug everybody on behalf of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First question I have is, of all these projects, how many, you can give a percentage or an actual number, are shovel ready projects?
At this point, none of them are shovel ready. None of them are shovel ready. They're going through the design process and the contractor has not been selected yet.
Okay.
So those designs are being completed.
Okay, and the design process is by facility planning, is that correct?
Yes.
So it's not in-house where we're doing design, we have our engineering team.
Oh, no.
So the state is doing that for us.
The state basically goes out for the selection committee of the state selects your architect. So that's the process. They select the architect. The contract is with facility planning to manage the architect. Once the architect design is finished, then they go out for a bid and the low bidder wins.
Okay, so we have no control on amounts and timing
Oh,
and direction of the design teams
no,
for our buildings?
no.
Okay, I just want to,
That's right.
okay,
No,
I'm
no.
new here, but I just want to make sure.
That's right.
I want to tell you what I think you just told
Yeah,
us, right?
exactly. Yeah, you're
Okay,
exactly right.
all right. So that's one issue. So when we talk about a wish list, capital outlay, and things are in priority 5, that makes sense because we don't have shovel-ready projects. And if you're talking to legislators who are trying to be fiscally responsible, they want to see how much skin has been in the game, but we're waiting on the state to design these projects for us. So that makes sense about the delay. So that's one thing I wanted to clear up. So it's kind of difficult to actually pinpoint and strategize because the state is really in control of timelines and directions, different things like that. Am I correct?
Yes, it
Okay.
is. We have usually when they go through the selection process, they have a goal of when they get an architect on board, they have kind of a timeline that they want to see what they call the programming of the project. That is getting with the user, determining what it is, and a timeline they want to get through schematic design. Then they give another timeline they want to get to actually having construction drawings, construction documents. So they try to meet that timeline, but as far as us having input, other than constantly handling the situation on our side, which means that comments that we need to make or any input that we need to give, we make sure that that is given back to them timely and very quickly so that the ball is never on our side of the court. But to manage the contractors and manage the architects and all that, that is strictly the responsibility of FP&C.
Okay. Secondly, do you have on your team what you need to do your job every day?
If, as the president said, if we are looking at going out and actually.
Probably too diplomatic.
Okay, thank you. I want a direct answer. All right, so I got the answer is no. If the answer is no, then my next question is, what do you need? And don't be diplomatic, please.
We need to have, we talked about this. We got to have project managers and even some planners, some people that would go out and be able to look at these projects and make sure that the things are done in a timely manner. Okay, and also done correctly. So we need 2 or 3 people in that particular sphere. So if we had that, I think that we can really assist in getting things done. The system responsibility is not just the Baton Rouge campus, but we also have the New Orleans campus. We also have SUSLA. We also work with the Law Center. We work with the Ag Center. So all those projects that go on to that, we are involved with getting those particular projects done. So having a team of qualified people that can do that is very important.
Okay. And finally, Mr. Chairman, you talked about deferred maintenance. So do you have, and it's kind of hard to see here, but that's okay. You can get it to us later. A breakdown of one deferred maintenance.
Yes.
Right, which Mr. Chairman, I would argue is that's what we have to focus on first. But what are those other future projects that need to get done in the long term, right? What is
sure.
And so the deferred maintenance is those things need to be done yesterday, right?
Yeah,
and what are those things and that amount for those future projects? I think that will help all of us to prioritize and strategize and working with the legislature so that we don't have a wish list.
Yes.
If we have a plan and we have a timeline and that dollar amount, I think we'd be in a better position.
Sure.
Moving forward. So thank you.
And thanks. And we submit a deferred maintenance list to Board of Regents, our priorities on deferred maintenance and even what we need. I think that the system need is probably about maybe 130 million of deferred maintenance needs. 300 million. Thank you.
We're gonna show that to a moment.
Good. Yeah. I mean, we have some serious issues. So what we do is we submit a list to Board of Regents every year stating what those particular needs are and let them know. And then they come back and they say, okay, this is how much you have. Okay. And we do try to prioritize it and make sure that we get the most critical things first.
Dr. Tarver? Yes. It seems to me that one of the things that may be very useful, and the chairman has talked about having budget hearings, but that would be an excellent time to address some of the matters he's talking about, because the political process and the legislative process is something we need to develop a more intimate relationship to, because oftentimes it's the standing of that particular member who represents us that has more to do with the political decisions on what we get funded. So that's something we get a chance to cover perhaps at our retreat, Mr. President. My concern is a small one and it's an easy one,
Yes,
so
sir.
it won't take much time and much money. I visited the museum yesterday.
Yes.
As I occasionally do. And I noticed a lot of furry things coming from the ceiling. And
Okay.
when I saw them all around the museum, it occurred to me that I see that every year, once a year. And whatever the issues are, we've not been able to resolve them. I wish you would just take a look at that to see what does it take, maybe to clean out the vents and all. I'm not so sure, but it just hasn't occurred.
That's interior?
Yes.
Yes, okay, yes, sir. I'll take a look at it.
All right, thank you much.
Any other comments? Before we move on, I would say to address the chairman's previous comment, I think we should always be aggressive on what our requests are, but I think it may be helpful if we mention to the appropriators that make sure that these projects are funded, that they are pulling for this institution in a lot of different ways, but the state is not necessarily spending the money wisely. And that becomes a thing where we're talking to a legislature and we're asking for something and they make sure it happens, but then they don't realize that the thing that they worked hard to appropriate funding for, now the state's got it and the property doesn't look like what we envisioned it to look like or what they wanted funded. And that may be something that the legislators need to have an understanding of and possibly tour and look at the thing that they had a passion for and they wanted to happen. This sounds like more of a problem with state processes than our desires of what we want on our campus. So, I think we should all focus on making sure that our legislators see what's happening on the campus, and this seems to be a real state problem, an FNPC problem. Is there any other business? Ms. Dudley.
I just wanted to go back a little bit to Ms. Foster's comments and questions. And I dialed in last month and I heard some of the same concerns on the parking and lighting. And I don't know if we have it captured, and I know there's a response and we're working on it. But this young lady is full of enthusiasm and excitement and engagement. And that's what we want from our students. And so we want to be responsive to it. And I'm not suggesting that we're not. I'm new, I'm just coming. So if there's a list of those things and even just a status to help set expectations, if it has to be delayed, no money, I know we're working on it, but what I'm not hearing is what the status is. And that it could, and you may have that, and I'm happy to visit with you later, just to be transparent about where we are. We're all on the same page as you represent the student body and their particular interests. So I don't know who that's directed to, Mr. Chairman, but that's something I just would like to follow up on and get more clarity myself on. Thank you.
We have some pretty interesting things in the works. I don't know if you discussed, I was out for a moment, with lighting that's real and will make a difference. And it's several millions of dollars. So the Law Center is a priority. I've spoken with the president. Dr. Tarver called me, said, "You can't see anything back here." I edited the way he said it, but anything wasn't quite. But anyway, it's true. That whole the entire corridor back there is lacking. The museum, I mean, you can just walk around. So it's real, and we're going to do something about it. It's not chatter. Board Member Foster will not let you forget, and she does a very good job putting it in writing. Chancellor, don't have any writing problems over in the Law Center, I can promise you that. So I commend her as you did. Thank you,
Mr. President.
Chairman Shorty, I'm going to command this next piece. Let him off the hook, and you give me 3 minutes because I know this is running long. But the board and this committee needs to know there's a major project underway, and the handout that you just received sort of captures what the opportunity is. And this is a result of the good offices of Senator Cleo Fields and Congressman Troy Carter. That as you know, a big infrastructure bill was passed federally last year, and we have an opportunity to tap into that. And so about 3 weeks ago, the czar of that infrastructure money, former Mayor Landrieu of New Orleans, is the czar overseeing that nationally. He took time on very short notice to come and take a tour of the campus, where Mr. Dawson and Mr. Pitts had an opportunity to put together this list and then walk around, actually see what the challenges are. Since that time, we followed up with myself and several other people to meet with the infrastructure staff in DC and have it explain to us how complex this is, because this money is not all sitting in one pot. And we may need to team up with the city and some other entities to get this done. But I'd like to say this prospect will get all of this money, but even if we get half of it, it will allow us to address major deferred maintenance, shoddy workmanship that spans over probably 4 decades. When I talked with the consultant that Senator Fields introduced me to, he said that the goal is to position this campus in this way for the next 50 years, not just to do quick fixes. And I will just say to you, we get so accustomed to thinking about these things. But Mr. Pitt said, well, it'd be nice if we could sort of repair the chillers. And I said, I don't want them to repair the chillers. I want new chillers. And so we have to ask in that fashion, particularly because there's this kind of money on the table. But this is something we're working on now, and it is a tight window, but I think we have a good team that will at least get some significant dollars for this deferred maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Foster?
I promise it's the last one. I really promise.
Don't say
It is for this committee. I'll be back next month. So I just have a quick question, and it might be an informational thing. The temperature is controlled from the back of the, yeah. So you already know what I'm going to ask you. Okay.
And we had projects that dealt with putting in digital thermostats and controls. I mean, for instance, and I can tell you, some of the projects have not been done up to the standard that needs to be done because the controls are not really, I'm sorry? Yeah.
Okay.
So that's, we're looking into it, and I promise you, I'm staying on the contractors and those people to make sure they deliver what they're supposed to according to their scope and responsibility.
I'm not going to bother you anymore.
You can bother me anytime, no problem.
Keep bothering Great job.
Any other business? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Dr. Tarver, seconded by Dr. Whitfield. The Facilities and Property Committee is adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now ask that the Finance Committee be called to order by the chair, Madam Dr. Orlando Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order. Roll call, please, Mr. President.
Yes, Doctor. Dr. Orlando Williams.
Present.
Chair. Mrs. Ann Smith, Vice Chair.
Present.
Dr. Leon Tarver II.
Here.
Ms. Christy O. Reeves.
Here.
Mr. Sam Gilliam.
From-
Attorney Des Moines Rutledge. Mr. Myron K. Lawson. Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Reeves, second by Ms. Smith. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Are there any public comments? Item 5, informational item. The interim financial reports are attached. Do you have any questions or concerns? Is there any other business that needs to come before this committee? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved and second. All those in favor, we stand adjourned.
We'll now bring the governance committee to order. Reverend Dr. Tolbert, could you bring your meeting to order, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I will call the Governors Committee to order and ask Mr. President for a roll call.
Yes, sir. Reverend Dr. Samuel Tolbert,
Present.
Dr. Ronnie Whitfield,
Present.
Ms. Christie O. Reeves,
Here.
Ms. Nadia Foster, Dr. Leon Tarver II, Attorney Edwin Shorty, Mr. Myron Lawson.
Present.
We have quorum.
Thank you very much. At this time, I entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
Second, Dr. Whitfield.
Moved by Mr. Reed, Ms. Reed, second by Dr. Whitfield. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Ayes have it. At this time, we'll entertain public comments. If there are any public comments in reference to the items on the agenda, we will entertain them at this time. Thank you. We move to action item 5A and B. A is request approval of outside employment policy. This policy has been revised to require all employees to report outside employment on an annual basis, and the procedures will be on the link along with the outside employment form, Mr. President.
Yes, Attorney Blotch, can you explain what's going on here?
Tracy.
Oh, Tracy, I'm sorry.
How you doing? Yes.
Dr. Wood.
This is a continuation of the updates of the Southern University System HR Personnel Handbook. And we reviewed the outside employment policy and looked at other systems. And we are currently not really complying with the outside policy request. It's an ethical regulation as well as a system regulation. So when you have outside employment, you're going to use this one. When you have outside employment, you are required to submit a form and go through approval process and get it approved. When that is requested by us by outside agencies, we usually do not have the information on file at Human Resources. Other systems are requiring their employees to make this to submit this information on an annual basis. So we've updated the policy, require folks to do it on an annual basis. And now we're putting the procedures in a form where when you go in, you have to actually go through the appropriate approval processes, because some outside employment, as a higher education institution, we can approve, and some outside employment we cannot. So we really do not have a handle on what people are doing. So this is the reason we're going to have this policy revised and updated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
If not, I entertain a motion for adoption. Then moved and properly second that we would approve this item. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The item is adopted. Action item 5B, request approval of Board of Supervisors scholarship policy. The Southern University Assistant Board of Supervisors offers educational assistance scholarships eligible students from revenue received from the sale of special Southern University license plates. Scholarships are to be used to help eligible students with a focus on improving retention and graduation rates. Mr. President.
Yes, sir. So this came up, came to my attention last summer, because annually we have to report to the state what we've done with the scholarships. And I noticed two things at that time, that we hadn't been utilizing the dollars of the revenue stream that the current policy allows, which is it amounts to board members collectively being able to award $75,000 in scholarship. The annual revenue off those license plates now approaches $100,000 a year. And so the combination between that difference in revenue that's authorized and the underutilization of the scholarship meant that we were building a balance. And so we needed to come look at this and make some changes. And so there was some recommendations here as to adjustments that might be made moving forward. And that's just a recommendation from the administration to the Board of Supervisors. Let me be clear. The administration has no interest in dictating or attempting to dictate to the board what they ought to do. I just see resources that our students desperately need. And we want to be attentive and prudent about how we marshal those dollars and get it out to the students.
Dr. Whitfield?
So, and before we go on again, we talked about license plates. We haven't done a great job, I think, in marketing that ability. And so if we, I'm actually going to get two within the next couple of weeks for 2 vehicles of mine. So I apologize for not having those yet present. Yes. But I'd actually like to amend that to allow that the board have an additional 25,000 emergency funds. So if you look, you all received the document, should have received the document 6-010 in your emails where it talked about the policies and how much we were receiving and what the increases might be. But there still may be a need for some emergency funds. So I would like to aid or amend that, Mr. Chair, so that we can have an additional $25,000 in emergency funds in discussion between you and the president if need be. So I'd like to add that amendment to the motion as well.
And that's along with the increase.
Along with the increase. So we'll have an additional 25,000.
Okay, so it's been moved by Dr. Whitfield, second by Dr. Tarver, that we would add the additional increase that would be distributed by the president and the chairman of the board.
In the event of emergency.
In the event of emergency.
I'm not chair.
Any further discussion on the motion for the amendment?
I want to commend past chair Shorter. He really, when he got on the board, he said, "Where's the scholarship?" I mean, it wouldn't pay for a meal ticket. Really, we are woefully behind what others are doing across the state. So this is his work continuing to show up, and I want to commend him for getting started in that.
Yes. Okay, so at this time, if there's no further discussion, we'll vote on the amendment. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is approved, and now can we entertain a motion to vote on it as amended?
Oh, okay. Board,
The item that's on the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Whitfield. Second by Dr. Tarvin. I think at this time, President Shields.
No, I don't have it. After it passes, I have a comment.
Oh, okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The item passes. Mr. President, it has passed. You may not speak.
Thank you. I just want to offer our assistance to board members. If you're struggling to identify prospective students to award your scholarships to, we want to support that in any way we can. And my interest is to get this money into the hands of the students who are in desperate need of it. So we want to support that effort.
Mr. I'm going to say one thing.
Yes, sir.
Guys, what I've done, and I make it a big deal, and it makes it as big a deal if you want to, but I often contact Zacchaeus Johnson, Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs, and ask him what students are in need. And he'll say, "Hey, Doc, I got a kid that's got a $300 balance that can't get in school for $300." And so we're missing out on opportunities to really, really help these students. So, you know, a $300 balance to keep them out of school. So if you don't know and don't know someone, and that's kind of how this discussion started with Ed and I last year, like, Ed, we got some kids that need, I went to Ed because I had a kid that needed $200 or $300 and he had $500 left over. Like, I need that money for one of my students. So, and this is not just for the Southern Baton Rouge campus. This can be used for the law school, for all of the schools. So keep that in mind as well. So we need to identify these students. I celebrate them and try to take them out to eat and take pictures with them and let them know that we appreciate what they're doing. Some of these kids are doing well. Some of these kids in need. Some of them in both situations. And again, that's how I met the young man who passed away in the tragic car accident. So it's a great opportunity for us to connect with our students and to share that scholarship money with them. Thank you.
All right. You were getting ready to say something?
Just encouraging about the license tags. Dr. Taylor Jarrell has activated some excitement with the alumni. I know she's made a call to get them actively involved in pushing the tags, but I also encourage the board members to use this scholarship to leverage and encourage alumni to come up with a dollar amount, and maybe in your respective cities, you could match whatever they come with up until the month, up to the point where you feel comfortable with what you have left. So just if I don't know if my alumni president's in the audience, Freddie Price, he was here. But anyway, my local chapter is doing that. So let's get them going. Thank you.
Okay, any other business to come before the committee? If not, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move, Dr. Whitfield.
Second. All right, without, no. Yeah, it's not. You wanted to say something?
No.
Oh. All right. So without objection, the committee stands adjourned.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'm gonna ask the chair of the Personnel Affairs Committee, Mr. Sam Gilliam, to call to order his committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Personnel Affairs Committee is hereby called to order. Mr. President, will you please give us a roll call?
You're happy to. Mr. Sam Gilliam,
Present.
Miss Christy Reeves,
Here.
Dr. Leon Tarver II, Mrs. Azelle Dudley, Dr. Orlando Williams, Attorney Jody Amity, Mr. Myron Lawson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next order of business calls for the adoption of the agenda. What is the pleasure of the committee? It's been moved by and second that we will have our agenda approved. Those in favor, please let it be known by sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Our agenda is thus adopted. Item number 4 calls for public comments. Would there be any public comments regarding anything pertaining to the agenda in the Personnel Affairs Committee? Seeing no one approach the committee, we move on to item number 5, and you have in your packet, you should have already received the source documents and the resumes of all of the individuals here. If there would be a need for further clarification, we can address that at this point. Otherwise, Chair will entertain, if you would, a global motion to approve action items A through E. Moved by Dr. Tarver, second by Ms. Reeves. We would approve action items A through E. Those in favor, please let it be known by sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Hearing none. These PAFs are thus approved. Item number 6, other business. Is there any other business to be brought before this committee? Yes. Let's go back if you would. There was one item, it would be number C3. The source of funding, I believe, should be corrected to indicate not state, but federal. By point of clarification. Okay. We are no other business to be brought before this committee. If not, we move to item number 7, adjournment. Been moved and second that we would consider the Personnel Affairs Committee adjourned, and by we are thus adjourned. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, we'll call to order the Southern University Board of Supervisors meeting. Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Give me just a moment here to get my list.
Okay.
Right. The full list.
We don't have the full list attached.
Around the room.
Yeah, around the room.
I don't want to challenge his memory, but we may have an executive session on that if you couldn't remember these names over here.
Okay,
Yeah.
Chair Myron Lawson,
Present.
Vice Chair Ronnie Whitfield. Well, there's 4 people. I got 4 people directed me here. All right. Okay.
I think you better go from that page.
Okay. Attorney Jody Amity, Mrs. Azelle Dudley, Mr. Raymond Fondell Jr., Miss Nadia Foster, Ms. Maple Gaines, Mr. Sam Gilliam, Mr. Paul Matthews, Ms. Christy Reeves, Attorney Des Moines Rutledge, Attorney Edwin Shorty, Mrs. Ann A. Smith, Dr. Leon R. Tarver II, the Reverend Dr. Samuel Tolbert, Dr. Orlando Williams. We have 4.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 3 is adoption of the agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda as printed? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for the adoption. That has been properly moved by Board Member Shorty, seconded by Board Member Fondale. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, aye. That motion carries. Item number 4, public comments relative to the agenda as adopted. Seeing no one approach the podium, we'll go to special presentations. And before that, I want to recognize a talented student that passed tragically last week. And please keep him in our prayers, out his family, Reginald Eloy, and very, very talented. I think I've had a chance to meet him actually through the previous SGA president. So we live in a small city. Things happen. We want to do everything within our powers to eliminate him from happening. And this seems as if it was something certainly that wasn't in our control, but we can control the prayers that we send up in regards to what his family's going through to aid and assist them during this tumultuous time. Okay. All right. Item number 5, special presentations. A, Above and Beyond Award. Okay, Dr. Walker will make this presentation. Dr. Calvin Walker. And thank you again, Dan Smith, Board Member Smith.
Peace and grace be unto you all. To the Honorable Board Chairman Lawson, Vice Chair Whitfield, distinguished board. I've been asked by my chancellor to present our Above and Beyond Award nominee, and we certainly hope that you all will approve. The person is none other than Felton James Derwan II. Will you please come forward? Is his mother and father here? Did you stand? Supporters, friends, colleagues, Toledo. I was told on Monday, I was told by Felton Derwan II's father, if you're on the east side of the Atchafalaya Basin, it is Derwan. If you're on the west side of the Atchafalaya Basin, it is Derwan. And when Felton was doing wrong, his father called him wrong. Felton has been our research assistant for 8 years. He's a very quiet and humble person who enabled others to succeed by providing behind-the-scenes support in an array of activities. Under Dr. Renita Marshall, our Vice Chancellor for Student Services, Dr. Harold Million, Dr. Jody Martin, Dr. Dana Pollard, and Mr. Curtis Chisley. Felton graduated 15th out of 205 at Glen Oaks High School. In the fall of 2004, he arrived here at Southern University, following his father's footsteps. His father graduated from Southern University. His mother graduated from Southern University. Felton received his Bachelor of Science degree in Animal Science, 3.6 GPA. Several of Felton's family members graduated from Southern University, starting as early as 1957. Yvonne P. Jones and Peter Derwan, 1959. Felton's parents, Chancellor McMeans, met in a class in the horticultural greenhouse. And that greenhouse still exists today. I was told by the father on Monday. Felton have a love for animal. He showed at our livestock show. Felton worked with beef cattle. He worked with goats, lambs, poultry, the whole 9 yards. Felton also served as a trainer in the Sustainable Agricultural Program, our certification program. Felton also helped over at least 70 students that I was trying to count up, dealing with the Summer Bayou program, the SU Jack-cation program, the Southern University Lab School SWAG Summer Camp, Southern University Baton Rouge STEM Day, and he also is an instructor in the dual enrollment program at Zachary High School, dealing with meat processing. He also helped Dr. Harold Melion with the Poultry Science Lab, also helped with Dr. Jody Martin with the Introduction to Animal Science, and Mr. Curtis Chizzy with the Meat Science class. But most of us don't know, and I didn't even know that Felton is a chef. But his father told me Monday that he taught him everything he knew, but he didn't tell him everything that he knew. But Felton is a chef. He works with the 6 Man Club. This is a club that serves food for the women and men basketball team for home games. Felton is actually the chef. He cooks the meat at the meat lab, and they come and get it and they present it. Felton is not there, but he's the person behind the scenes providing those meat items for the men and women's basketball team. And he had to be very good because the rotisserie, I was told by Mr. Chisley, covers you can hold 100 baby back ribs, 20 briskets, and 5 cases of chicken at one time. And only Felton and Mr. Chisley can actually do that. And Dr. Marshall provided to me, Felton is participating in over $2 million in projects where he served as a research assistant. He has certifications at the national level as it relates to pork. He have a state pesticide application license. And interesting, he have a certification in trapping wildlife. Also, he last December was recipient of a research assistant award at the joint conference of LSU Ag Center and Southern University Ag Center. And December the 12th, he received that award on the LSU campus. As we know, as I close talking about Felton, so much more to say about this young man. This year marked the 6th year of the Above and Beyond Award. I believe the inaugural Above and Beyond Award started February 2017. I would say on behalf of Chancellor McMeans and the campus, the Ag campus, without the slightest hesitation, we are privileged to be able to put forward Mr. Felton Derwan II.
I'd like to thank you all for this award. I will continue to be a beacon of light for the Southern University system, the College of Agriculture, Grow Jags.
Okay, now we'll go to item number 5B, creating digital leaders plan, SULC. I thought so. I didn't bring something new to me. Item number 6, A, approval of the minutes of the January 6th, 2023 SUS Board of Supervisors meeting. Have a motion by Board Member Fondell, probably second by Board Member Smith. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor, aye. The motion passes. Resolution 7, Mr. President.
All right, I will take that. Mike. You can project. Mike, okay, I'll project.
Push your button.
Turn on my Barry White. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, and if you bear with me, we have 8 resolutions this morning.
One moment. Go ahead. What did we miss?
We did it in the. No, we did it in actual repairs. I didn't know.
If there was a mention, I'm sorry.
Okay, do we need to do it? Okay, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Dr. Shirley Dolores Devard family. Dr. Shirley Dolores Devard received 3 degrees in education, Bachelor of Arts degree from Florida A&M, a Master's of Arts degree from Southern University, and a Doctor of Education from Louisiana State University. She spent 20 years as a highly respected professor at Southern University. She ended her career teaching in Baton Rouge public school systems, where she retired. Dr. Shirley was a charter member and Golden Soror of Nu Gamma chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. She passed away on January 10th, 2023. Mr. Paul P.J. Johnson was a retiree of both Ethel Corporation and Copolymer. He was the husband of Miss Beatrice Armstrong Johnson of Academic Affairs. He passed away on January 18th, 2023. Miss Crystal Snowden Jackson was a native of Zachary, Louisiana. Crystal was the sister of Dr. Janana Snowden, the director of Medical Plant Institute for the Southern University Agriculture Research and Extension Center. She passed away on January 25th, 2023. Mr. Kesty Weir Jr. was a native of Natchez, Mississippi. He was the father of Kesty Weir III, who works in the SUBR Agriculture Facility Maintenance Department. Kesty was a longtime member of the National Alumni Federation, East Baton Rouge Parish Alumni Chapter. He passed away on January 28th, 2023. Mr. Reginald Reggie J.D. Elwa was a current student at Southern University, Baton Rouge. He was a senior scheduled to graduate in May with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Management with a concentration in accounting. Reginald was in numerous organizations, Collegiate 100, SGA Men's Federation, University College Ambassador, Residence Life Step Team, first-year experience, to name a few. He was also an orientation leader. Reggie had a bigger than life smile. To know Reggie was to love him. He passed away on January 30th, 2023. Mr. Floyd Kerr served as Southern University's athletic director from 2000 to 2005. He was selected for his role in revamping Southern's athletic department by tightening operations and stressing academics, which led to a more than 50% increase in the student athlete graduation rate. He was instrumental in expansion of Southern's A.W. Mumford Stadium and athletic fundraising. He also helped spearhead the first Jagathon. Kerr was married to Vivian Kerr, Director of Museums for the Southern University System. He passed away on February 4th, 2023. Mr. Ricky Wayne Pugh, brother of Mr. Benjamin Pugh, Vice Chancellor of Finance and Administration, passed away. His services are today at 11 a.m. Mr. Whitney J. LeBlanc was a resident of Napa Valley, California. He was a Southern University Lab 1950 graduate and a Southern University Baton Rouge 1956 graduate. He spent more than 25 years in theater and television in Hollywood as a writer. He passed away on February 9th, 2023. Mr. Chairman, this concludes our resolutions.
Thank you, Dr. Vital. Any other resolutions we need to consider at this point? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the resolutions, aye. And motion made by all opposed. Motion made by Dr. Williams, properly seconded by Dr. Tarver. Okay. Informational items, presidential report, and he's setting the tone. He didn't tell me that. He's setting the tone for the chancellor's father. Thank you for that.
And what's the saying? Brevity is the soul of wit. Is that what you're saying? Okay. First thing I'll mention is the search for the Southern University Shreveport chancellor. The search committee has completed their work and forwarded to me their reactions to the 5 candidates that interviewed on campus. We've narrowed that to 3 finalists. Over the coming 2 weeks, I'm going to invite each one of the candidates to campus to spend a few hours with me chatting about their interest, their skills, me interrogating them on how they would approach leading SUSLA. And hopefully by the end of this month, I will be forwarding to this board my recommendation for the candidate that ought to be hired. And with your approval, we'll present them at the board meeting in Shreveport next month. I've learned over the last month or so that Mardi Gras is a season, not an event. I've been to events in DC, Los Angeles, missed one in Houston. There's one going on in DC again tomorrow. I will be up giving the Black History speech in Shreveport tomorrow evening, so I'll miss that. But for this Midwesterner who didn't know Mardi Gras from whatever, I'm learning a lot about how that's supposed to work. Couple of things I will just give you a heads up I'm working on. Our information technology across the system, both the hardware and the software, needs a very close look. And so I'm working with Mr. McClinton and his team to develop a strategy for addressing that. And have assigned Chancellor Pierre and Chancellor Ammons to serve as an advisory group looking into that, because Chancellor Pierre seems to be extraordinarily successful as the Chancellor of the Law Center and dealing with the IT issues, and a very articulate memo that was written to me by Dr. Ammons a year ago, expressing on the part of his campus what they felt their needs were. So that senior leadership will be helping to guide that. I also extended my visit on the West Coast to visit Apple at the the request of Chancellor Pierre and Superintendent Cito Narcisse. And it was good for two reasons. Number one, it got me in front of a number of the East Baton Rouge school board members, some newly elected, other senior staff with East Baton Rouge School District. And then other than it being kind of cool to see what Apple headquarters is like, also listening to their approach to addressing community-wide K through 12 education challenges was very helpful. I'd also mention that we are in talks with our education programs, I think across the system, but talking with the East Baton Rouge School District about teacher apprentice programs so that we can generate more teachers for the East Baton Rouge School District. The last thing I'll mention, there's a whole lot of other things, but I want the board to hear from me personally that with regard to the SUBR campus, the student registration process, which I think we've made some progress on, but it's not readily observable from the calls that you folks get, is front and center. We are going to improve dramatically moving forward. We have two senior, Dr. Sahu and Dr. Walton, who I've charged with reporting to me each week on the progress that we're making on this front and developing strategies to avoid what, in fairness, is not a new problem. It's been in place for decades, but we can and should do better. And every other academic institution in the country does it better than us. We must get better at it, and I'm committed to that moving forward. So you just need to be aware that that's front and center for me.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate you acknowledging the concerns that I share with you with registration. Best way to win a game is practice, right? So we kind of determine our outcome by what we do before we start that desirable goal. So we're giving you the authority and the responsibility to do what it takes to make this better. And congratulations on your first official visit as president to Mardi Gras in Los Angeles. You didn't really stand out. I understand you did okay other than that red, white, and blue suit you wore. You'll get it next year. Shorty didn't tell you what the true colors were for Mardi Gras. I'm kidding. Okay, we'll move now, Chancellor Dr. Alves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just say to the president, the real Mardi Gras is in New Orleans.
Look, I'm almost wore out and I haven't even been to the real one yet.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the board for the actions that you took today. And I want to thank the president for his support. We have this goal of improving our efficiencies on our campus and really all across the system. And the appointments that you approved today for SUNO will add to our resolve to get this done. And again, I want to extend my thanks. I also want to congratulate the College of Business and Public Administration at SUNO. They were just informed that their accreditation was reaffirmed by the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business, or AACSB International. And, you know, to let you know how important this is, only 5%, well, really less than 5% of all business programs in this country have this distinction. And I want to congratulate our dean, the faculty and students and staff of the College of Business and Public Administration for this accomplishment.
That's where the round of applause.
And also they are continuing to do their work. We now have over 35 students faculty and staff who have obtained these prestigious badges and certifications in technology. And they were just recognized for those achievements. We're continuing to be good stewards of place, Mr. President. We will be hosting the FBI on our campus. As you all know, the FBI's building in New Orleans is adjacent to our campus. We will be hosting them next week. I had an opportunity to meet with the head agent and a Southern alum, Corey Harris, who is an agent with the FBI earlier this week. We are going to extend our partnership with the upcoming Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity that we will be implementing in August. And they are very interested in hiring as many students who graduate from that program as they can, because they just can't get enough people with that background. We're also continuing to partner with the New Orleans Saints. We hosted DeMario Davis and members of the New Orleans Saints, as well as Mrs. Benson. Last month, DeMario Davis and his wife have founded the Devoted Dreamers Academy, which is an academy for youth who are interested in sports, in playing sports, but also interested in being scholars. And so not only did we host the open house, but we're also hosting that program on our campus. And so those are some of the things that I wanted to mention. Our report is in your packet. And again, I want to thank all of you for your support of Southern University at New Orleans and for all of the institutions in our system. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons, and congratulations on your successes.
Thank you.
All right, our wonderful Chancellor in Shreveport. What's his name, Dr. Williams? Dr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, distinguished and honorable board members, President Chancellor. I shall be quick and brief with our report. I'll begin with an academic update. This month, we are finalizing 2+2 articulation agreements between Southern University at Shreveport Engineering Program and the program here at SUBR. We're also finalizing a similar articulation agreement with Northwestern State University in Natchitoches. And this follows, Mr. Chairman, the 2+2 agreement that we established between the nursing program at SUSLA and the SUBR program via 100% online RN to BSN program. A point of plug for SUSLA, 56% of our graduates at SUSLA graduate in nursing and allied health programs. So the STEM discipline is very strong, and we're extending that into the engineering field right now. In the area of facilities, Mr. Ken Dawson mentioned 2 facilities, and I want to emphasize the first one, the Workforce Training Center. The focus of that is data analytics, cloud computing, artificial technology, machine learning, drone technology, and cybersecurity. Why is that important? That will be our first state-of-the-art workforce training center for the campus at Shreveport. And in addition, it dovetails with the certificate program that we have in cybersecurity, building upon that into a future baccalaureate 2+2 program that SUNO has. So we have a bridge and a pathway for our students to continue their education. Also, the gymnasium was mentioned, again, being stewards of place. It's the gymnasium that was spoken about. It has been derelict. It will be torn down no later than April 2023, in the next couple of months. That will be a great day for SUSLA, because it then paves the way for a brand new planning and design that we received $750,000 from the legislature to put in place a state-of-the-art building. Why is that critical? Our men and women's basketball teams deserve a place. It also will allow for community engagement and a place for our community, polling centers, so on and so forth, to partake of that. Closing, enrollment. Enrollment is the heartbeat of our system. And at SUSLA, we have absolutely built on the dividends that we built in the fall semester. As of today, our enrollment in total registered students is up 16% from where it was last spring. Our number of paid students at this time is up 26%. The number of dually enrolled students is up 82%. and the number of continuing students is up 2.1%. And I give all of the attributes for this tremendous work to the faculty, the staff, and students at Southern University at Shreveport. I want to conclude by simply commending and congratulating the Honorable Mrs. L. Dudley, my friend, colleague from the fair city of Shreveport, on her appointment to this Board of Supervisors. Ms. Chairman, I yield back to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Penny. We appreciate all that fine work you're doing. And I did see those numbers trending. Most of the campuses, quite frankly, are trending very positively with enrollment. And we're anxious to see that trend continue. And I know you're probably anxious to get back and continue with all the big picture stuff here on campus. So thank you again, Dr. Penny, for what you're doing. And we're going to be coming up with stuff with the mission statement and everything else at our retreat. Hopefully we have something. So we're going to certainly value your input. And along with the rest of the chancellors, of course, you would do your own down the line, but we're going to come out with something fresh and something new. Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Next chancellor, Dr. McMeans. Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and President Shields and honorable board members. Being a native of Mobile, I just want to say this. I know I'm not going to be popular, but the original Mardi Gras started in Mobile.
The former Dr. McMeans. Oh, thanks. Let's go that race he asked about.
But it has been perfected in New Orleans. Yeah, clean it up. Just as a reminder, the 80th Livestock and Poultry Show will take place March the 2nd through the 4th. And before that actually occurs, we're going to kick things off with the boot and bling. I sent that information to you guys. Because of the sales, we've had to move it from the multi-purpose to the mini dome. And so that will take place on Saturday, February the 25th from 7 to 11. So we ran out of space. So that's a good problem to have. And so we're looking forward to that event. And I'll be sending you more up-to-date information about all the activities associated with that 80th anniversary. At this time, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Theodora Espinosa. You didn't have to come up here. Come on up since you got here. But Dr. Espinosa is from University of Champingo. I'm not going to say the Spanish name, in Mexico. And it's an agricultural university. And I've known him for about a couple of decades. And he is bringing a wealth of knowledge to the Ag Center. And we're going to be working in bioprocessing and some other things. He is not only a full professor, he's also academician and a research administrator and a researcher. And we're having initial conversations about joint collaborations and also faculty exchange, but also opportunities for our students and for their students to come here to Southern and for our students to go to Champingo. And he's been with us the last couple of days, and you will definitely hear about the relationship that we're going to have with this agriculturally based university out of Mexico. And Mr. President, I hope you're ready to travel, because we will be trying to tour their campus and their laboratory sometime in 2023.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Recently, January the 31st, we, in conjunction with USDA, hosted the Ascend to Better Health community outreach endeavor. And it was, I give kudos to my team, because it was a last minute. They were supposed to happen in March, and they moved it up to January the 31st. And our goal was to get 100 community members there for USDA under the office of the Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics. And so we had more than 100 individuals from the community present. We had USDA, maybe 20, 25 people. We had, of course, our faculty and staff, and we exceeded that. And that was a mandate that came out of President Biden's, one of his initiatives, and the Secretary of Agriculture thus decided that the Southern University would be the first campus to kick off that Ascend to Better Health, dealing with nutrition, health issues, food insecurity affecting underserved and minority communities. President Shields kicked the meeting off, and it was a success. And, you know, when you have to start bringing chairs in and things of that nature, I think we've done a pretty good job. And lastly, I would just like to say, and this is really amazing to me, but I never knew this, but for the first time in the history of the College of Agriculture, our enrollment has surpassed 500. And you would think that that has happened before, but it has not. And I wanted to applaud Dr. Renita Marshall and her staff for being intentional in recruiting. As Chancellor Pierre and President Shields have discussed, we're being very intentional about our recruitment in K through 12, especially in STEM or STEAM, as Dr. Supplefield said earlier, and getting young people to understand that agriculture is not the agriculture that you think agriculture is, but it's test tubes, it's growing plants in zero gravity on the space station. It's all of that stuff that's sexy that you don't know about. And so we are trying to be intentional. And when I came here, I said, some people laughed because we were at 300 students, I think at the time. I said, I think we'll be at 1,000. So I wanted to make sure I talk to North Carolina A&T and tell them we're coming. And but I think we're off to a good start. And I think if we're actually putting money and resources in recruiting these young people, I think we'll get close to that number. So this concludes my report.
Are we having a guest next week, or can we say anything about that?
I will. So next week, the United States Secretary of Agriculture will be on campus on Tuesday, and I got a call at 7:30 on Monday morning that he was coming next Tuesday. So we are running around campus trying to get prepared for Secretary Vilsack to be present. And I'll tell you, they keep changing the agenda. So that's why I'm very nervous about even mentioning it. But all the board members will get an invite to one of the activities at the Baldry Center. And so when we had the meeting on Tuesday, they were on campus on Wednesday. That's to just give you an idea of how things are moving.
Dr. McMeans and I met the secretary in September. He's an Iowan, so I've met him in my previous role, and I think it's a direct result of him being impressed with our ag program that he's made, and his commitment to the HBCUs that he's identified us. And it may be the first HBCU he's visiting.
So he was at A&T this week. So we go back and forth.
They made a mistake.
They made a mistake.
Oh, okay.
That's wonderful. You continue to amaze us. So and he's doing some wonderful things over there. And speaking wonderful of wonderful, our next chancellor, Dr. Pierre, Southern University Law Center.
Good afternoon. A few items in the ABA, American Bar Association president, visited us on the end of the month, January 31st. And she is the second African-American woman to be president of the American Bar Association. And we had a very good visit. She really enjoyed herself, and she got to meet President Shields, and they had a good conversation. Next month, on March the 10th, we actually will have a Henrietta Lacks Genetic Justice event, and we will be bringing Benjamin Crump, Attorney Benjamin Crump, to the Southern University Law Center, and he has been working with us on this, and Professor Alfred has been actually working on the Henrietta Lacks case. For those of you who don't know, Henrietta Lacks basically was diagnosed with cancer, went to Johns Hopkins. This is going back to the 50s. They did some things without her consent, and her cells are being used to heal all kinds of people, and the family has never really been recognized for its work in terms of compensation. And Attorney Crump has been litigating for them and has been using the work of Professor Alfred to help pursue their case. She did some stuff years ago that is now being recognized related to unjust enrichment. And today you have made her the managing fellow of our Health, Equity, Law, and Policy Institute, and we'll be doing more things like that. So again, thank you, board members, for again helping us move the needle. Our students got to meet with members of the Federal Reserve in Jackson, Mississippi this past week. 14 of our students went there and learned a lot about opportunities with the Federal Reserve and got interviews, and I think some of them might get offers. So we're looking forward to, again, pushing the needle. This weekend, the Young Lawyers Association is having a national trial competition in downtown Baton Rouge at the 19th JDC, which Southern University Law Center is hosting. And this is a really great competition, and I think we'll see our teams do well, but it's a great opportunity for students to come and see Baton Rouge and our students to interact with them. And then actually next week, 5 of our students are going to go to what we call a curated event at the NBA All-Star Game, whereby they will be able to meet some of the executives with NBA teams, who talks about opportunities in sports law and entertainment. And also it's actually being funded by Dominion Energy, which is very interested in some environmental issues and carbon capture, and they're funding part of this trip for us. So we look forward to our students getting a great experience and learning from this. And again, I want to thank the board for everything that he does for us each and every month, and even in between that time, because again, we cannot succeed without the board really understanding what we're trying to do and supporting us on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. And I think we're going to be touring the Law Center. Is that April? I think it's April, isn't it? Here.
Okay.
On campus. Is it? Yeah. So we'll have a Thursday night function, a little reception. We'll get a chance to really see some really phenomenal things that's happening over there in hands-on. So thank you so much, Chancellor. Baton Rouge.
I think they're bringing
Baton Rouge
Dr.
campus,
Sahu on board.
Dr. Sahu?
There he is. He's muted.
Unmute your microphone, please, Dr. Sahu.
Yes, I unmuted my microphone. Good evening. I just wanted to.
We will get a written report from Dr. Sahu. We're gonna get this. Look like, let's give it a few more moments.
Should I provide a spring 23 enrollment?
Anything else?
Below, yes, sir.
I mentioned the thing that's most important is the registration challenge that we're
Yes, sir.
facing.
Yes, sir.
A lot of good
We have a
things going on.
totally.
The search for the next dean of science and engineering is kicking off. We've hired a consultant under the good offices of the foundation, and that will be moving forward very shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President.
Item number 10. Is there anything else for the good of the system that needs to come before this body? If not, I'll entertain the motion. Item 10. Moved by Dr. Tarver, consider this adjourned. Huh?